Thanks, Lando.
Oh, I need to.
Lando, how are your games going online? I haven't checked them all. I'm hoping you're getting some decent signups. Tomorrow that you won last night. That's Carlos.
Hey, good. Yeah, probably just has settings to change. Yep. There he is.
Yo, man.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, clearly.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey,
Welcome.
Valmoku, hey, Naz, hey.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes, can you hear us?
You can probably not hear us yet. Okay.
Okay, good. What's going on, guys?
How are you?
Yeah. Good.
I'm
Yeah,
okay.
good.
I've been better, but I'm alright.
Well,
It's
I don't know if you
about
guys
same
heard
here.
that. I don't know if you guys heard or not, but I've had some serious health problems recently.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I booked myself in for hernia surgery because
Oh.
I had to have that when they were doing my MRI and stuff like that. They discovered a mass on my stomach valve between my
Ugh.
stomach and my lower intestine. But as it should turn out, it looks like it's just a nodule, and I'm not cancerous, so that's good news.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I was a little worried about that, but looks like everything's good now, and I just gotta get the hernia fixed, and yeah, which is a pain in the butt, but it could be worse.
Yeah.
It could be way worse. But that kind of slowed my production down and stuff a little bit, as you might imagine. In any case, so we are talking about today convention games and how to run them, yes?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Something you an expert.
Yeah, and and you just do Greyhawk, so
Yeah.
with a Greyhawk flair to it, if that makes
Okay.
any sense.
Hmm?
It looks like Alan Groy may hop on at some point.
Oh,
too.
okay, great.
And the ever mysterious Tim wants to say hi to you, so he'll probably hop on for a little bit too.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah. So get some giveaways tonight. Oh, let me set the giveaways up while we're waiting here for ads. Oh, giveaway. Okay. Always so much to do.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know. I having run my own stuff for a while, I definitely know what that's like.
It's like
Mhm.
so much. There we go. Yep.
Your
It's classic
chat.
D&D reprint giveaway tonight, everyone. So let me get through the rest of this.
So I assume that both you guys are going to GaryCon.
Both, yeah. Gary
That's the
Conrad.
plan. Yep.
I will be there this year.
That's great.
Oh,
man. We got it
wonderful.
worked out. That's great.
I will be there this year.
That is awesome.
Mhm.
Yes,
We're very happy about that.
I will be there, and as it should turn out, I should also I'm going to GrogCon, and that looks like my convention is scheduled for the immediate future, unless something should raise its head.
There's a brand new con in the Philly area Gamers Expo.
Yeah, is that one done by like the guy Ron Meister or
Yeah.
something?
Yep, I'm a VIP guest there, just like you are at GrogCon. So
It's awesome, man. I saw that.
it's in
I saw
Oaks.
that.
Yeah, we got Frank Menser's going to be there, and Lane Cunningham, and a bunch of Joe Block. So
I saw that Ron is very active in the RPG auctions group.
yeah, it's his group actually. I think.
So I don't know if it's his. I guess I've never really noticed what kind of products he does there. So what's the con geared towards? Like,
Oh,
is it an old school con, or is it a hybrid, or
it's
new?
a hybrid. Whoop, I hit a wrong button. Yes, too early. Go right back here and finish this up. I've hit so many wrong buttons lately. So it's D&D. Joe's there for old school. I'm there for old school. There's a lot of 5-years there. I'm doing two seminars. One with Joe, and I'm doing one. It's titled "So You Want to Stream? So you want to live stream your RPG?" Question mark.
Well, they probably couldn't find a whole lot of people that are more qualified.
Well, thank you. So,
well, part of the reason how I got started was through you. I mean,
yeah.
You gave your know-how to me, and I use that to this very day.
But this is your area of expertise. We're going to get into. Yes, John Carlos is on. Carlos is going to educate. Oh, John Bertram Luwak is going into the very con.
Oh, sweet.
Oh yeah.
Is the group open already? Is the channel open? I don't see your chat.
Oh no, I got it. Yeah. It's live streaming now. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes got to refresh it.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, hey,
yeah.
Hey, John.
You can
Good to
find
see
the
you.
chat. Yep.
Yeah, Johnny. Carlos is going to tell you how to be successful if you run stuff there.
Great to see you, Wiley. Great to see you.
Yeah,
I can't wait to
Wiley's
see
going
you
to be
either.
there too. Like, there's going to be so many people there.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why this topic was like, oh my gosh.
Well, it's sort of the big anniversary, right? I mean, you kind of have
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
kind of have to be.
That's
Look at Grindelwolf too, man. I haven't seen you in a million years, brother.
Tano's on, yeah.
Yeah, man. I see that.
Having on, dude. It's early in the numbers here, so.
Kitano's a one-man hype train.
Yep.
Yeah, so Wiley is running Len Lukofka's Lighthouse game. Oh, you're running that 4 times at GaryCon? You've already. Oh,
Well,
wow.
Oh wow.
4 times, man.
That's a glutton for punishment there.
That's awesome. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I've got this weird thing about running. I'm probably early talking about this, about convention stuff, but I have never run the same scenario twice at a convention.
At the same convention, but you run them at different conventions.
No, ever.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, so you don't run one over and over.
No,
you
I
run
do not.
different ones.
I do not. I
There's
run
Will.
some.
Will's going to be at GaryCon too.
That's awesome.
Oh, that
I
is
always love
wonderful.
seeing Will. But yeah, I like to write custom stuff for shows. I like people that are at my table to feel like they're getting something custom and new and that nobody's ever seen before. So yeah, like for example, when I write something for your show, it'll be for the virtual Greyhawk Con, it'll be brand new, just
That's
like
awesome.
anything else. I just I don't. Yeah, you're right, Grindelwolf. You're absolutely right. Well, that's the thing is as a creative, I don't like rehashing stuff. I kind of like moving forward
That's
and
the
feeling like I'm developing things and I'm progressing what I do, whether or not it's the setting or whatever. I know I watched part of it, brother. I was online for it, and I was so excited. I was hearing it. Every time somebody runs my stuff, I just get tickled. I get this weird mix of both bashfulness because I'm so humbled by the fact that somebody chose to run my stuff, and excitement that it's like, oh my gosh, somebody is actually, because I write these things, but the people who run them breathe life into them. You know, they're the ones that breathe life and soul into them. So I just, yeah, thanks so much, Grindelwolf. I appreciate it. But yeah, it is. Wiley, that one is, I kind of, when I write horror and scary stuff, I try and write things that I know will scare me. Things like I tap into my own personal, fears or whatever, and so that one really goes to some dark places in my brain.
There is yeah. What I learned just now is you and I do have some different styles, and that's awesome. With
Mhm.
I did not know you've never run the same. I'm
No,
trying.
never run the same scenario
I'm
twice.
trying to unbutton this. I'm freaking sweating my what's off, and I'm gonna put it in my the emote in for it here. Yeah,
Gee,
Carlos,
there's such a thing as air conditioning,
the air
you know.
conditioning's blast.
Mhm.
This room is the hottest room in the house.
Oh,
So
is it
it's
okay? I
yeah,
gotcha.
it just is. There you go. I use my D's nuts emote
My
for
office is
that.
actually better because we have like 107 outside, and that means that it's hot enough outside for the air conditioning to come on for the house. So
I don't
that's
mean to
better.
rub it in, but right now Northeast Ohio is like 76 degrees
Oh,
right now
that's nice.
outside,
Okay,
and
yeah.
It's not
we have
even
had a
super
very,
hot.
very
Yeah.
mild summer
Mhm.
compared to
Yeah.
the rest of
Yeah,
America.
but this is the time we normally have hot. So it's 83 degrees in my office, which is the coldest it's been in 2 months.
Well, I'm thinking, Anna, that this means I should have like Castle Con up here and invite
Mhm.
everybody from around America up to Northeast Ohio next summer so everybody can
Yeah,
cool down a little.
good idea.
Plus, I've been
You should
pounding
definitely
coffee
have
like
a
crazy.
CastleCon. That will be fantastic. This
There,
time of year too. That will
there's
be
the ever
great.
mysterious in chat, and he'll be. So I got a good funny story about you, Tim, that you don't even know about yet. So this is gonna
Uh-oh.
be. Yes, it's kind of amusing.
Is
So good
my yeah,
evening.
yeah, actually, absolutely. Will it's been like that all year long since pretty much when you left and you Gaetano just is holding me to that Castle Con thing. So okay, Amanda, you know the drill. You get the spare room ready.
We're gonna have some fun on this discussion. So I kind of was. It started by this. I was talking with Will and John about like, hey, you guys have never gone to GaryCon. Let me help you out with my tricks of the trade. And then we didn't have it. I'm doing all this stuff. I got the game Saturday. I'm worried about. I got my game Thursday. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot. I don't have a topic for Sunday night. And that's when I contacted Carlos. I said, Carlos, we got the signups for Virtual GrowdCon. How
Wait, so
about
I'm like the
yeah?
second
No,
choice.
you're the first choice because I had
Just
no choice
kidding.
before that. Yes, a quote from The Office. I was his second. I was very honored. I was his second choice after Pass. Yeah. So, but let's take a look at this real quick, and I think you're all going to be ecstatic. And Carlos, welcome back, man. This is
Hey,
going to be an
thanks, I
awesome
appreciate it.
discussion.
I appreciate it.
And Anna has never run at a live con either. I didn't know that till just now.
See, I'm such a newbie in this, and I'm going to tell why a little bit. Yeah, I'm such a newbie that I definitely need this discussion. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. So
Yeah.
we
Hey,
got.
Jeff, good to see you.
Hey, Jeff will be
Hello.
at GaryCon too. See, everyone's going to be at GaryCon.
Yeah.
So, as you see, we got a lot of events, but there's a lot of events with signups open still. But most of the live stream events, with the exception of 2, are filled. Okay. So Carlos is filled completely up here. The Amphoria Ekphrasis. Did I say that right?
You did Ekphrasis,
Okay, yes, that filled very quickly. Both of John's are filled. Shadows Hearthstone, the other one. Tim's, of course, filled because Tim's special has one open sign up. There he is. Yes.
One open sign up.
Well, he has a crew. It's a reverse
I know.
dungeon.
I
Yeah,
had the same thing. I already had 2 people ready to go, so I had to truncate my list
yeah.
too.
And he's like, oh, I can't kick out of any of the original group. So I was like, all right, dude, but you got to have one. So I think Patrick got into that one too, which is good. So we have games that need people. In particular, if you're a late night person or an early morning person, the very first live stream, Drums of Nerol, Phoenix Iwaki has 1 sign up right here. So there's 3 open seats for that. Remember, this is only day 1.5 of this. So we have time. And then if we come down here, the other one of that is All Along the Watchtower, and that starts at 1:00 Eastern a.m. because that's Armin from New Zealand running. So those are the 2. Every other live stream, I believe, is completely sold out. So, but there's other great events in here too. Just wanted to show you all the wonderful things that are going on, and you all, the community. This is the best, the most signups we had in the first 24 hours. So everything. Anna's game is sold out.
Mm-hmm.
All of Alan Growe's are sold out. All of Les's are sold out.
Let's be fair. When Alan's probably start out sold out.
Well,
I mean, he's one of the greatest DMs on the planet.
He is,
so.
But he has 8 signups for his game, so each. So, yeah, actually, Tim sold out first, but
Well, yeah, of course, because remember how I said that. Remember how I said that Alan was one of the greatest DMs on the planet.
Right.
Well, that means that there's a couple above him. Tim. By the way, you look very distinguished tonight, Tim.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I feel more extinguished than distinguished.
So, do you want the Tim story first, or do we want to talk about other stuff, then get into
Get the Tim story first?
I guess Tim. So, you have a fan club member. Let me see if I can bring this up.
Is that him?
What's that?
Carlos fan club or Tim fan club?
This happened in Discord. Give me 1 second here because I gotta. Let me bring up. Hopefully, I don't crash the stream or show anyone anything special. But I'm gonna bring Discord up. Yeah, here we go.
Don't open that folder. That one folder.
Yes, we don't want to have any crashes here. All right, so here comes Discord. We're gonna go to Virtual GreyhawkCon's Discord over here, and hopefully I can find this. Look, there's some stuff. Let me go down here. So
I'm sure it's at my expense if Jay's bringing it up.
No,
Yeah.
Kingmaker. Okay, so I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this, but
Not a chance.
here. I was looking. I said here it is. This is Dawn. All right, it's really small and I can't make it bigger. I'm sorry. She's talking to myself and she's talking to Josh Pop. Hello. She goes. I want to see if it was an earlier spot here. Here it is. I don't know why, but every time I see the ever mysterious Tim, I find him intriguing. Why all the mystery? I must know. So
wait, did you say he has a fan or a stalker?
Yeah, fine line.
Hey, Stronghold.
I guess
Very
it's the
fine
same
line.
thing. You know how Johan Wee said prepare the bleach, more like prepare the restraining order.
And here's another one you don't know of, Carlos. Stronghold D&D. He will be at GaryCon too. Fairly new to the
I don't think I know that individual.
Yeah, so he's on.
Oh, hey,
too.
Stronghold. Good to see you.
So
now I know him.
Yep. So, Stronghold, and those that don't know, because we have so many new people, Carlos is a legend at GaryCon, and tonight we're going to talk about. Come on, man. We're going to talk about his style. Give you some tricks and tips for how to be prepared to DM something, and take that however you want. But for virtual, or if you're running something like at a fundraiser, you can put this to good use, or in person at a convention, which is scary. It could be scary.
Okay, well, to begin,
Yes.
a little bit of background. I actually went to GaryCon for the first time in 2014, and I went almost specifically to play an Alan Growe's game, who I can't say enough good things about.
Awesome.
And Alan ran a game, and I was so bowled over by what he did. I was like, you know what? I kind of want to run something for him. And so the next year I came back, I wrote myself a module. But you know, I when I first wrote, I planned on making it very bare bones, you know, real simple, just kind of quick note card stuff. But I have this weird problem that I have, in which I continually bite off more than I can chew as a project goes on. I was like, you know what? Maybe what I should do is I should have maps. Okay, well, I'll have maps. Maybe I should have like a cover. Wouldn't that be cool? People could see it. No, I did a cover. Well, what if I had interior art? Okay, well, maybe I could print it out and like give one away to like the most valuable player of the session. The next thing I know, I have a printed module I'm looking at. I wrote it and I ran it, and there was so much interest in having Greyhawk stuff there that the next thing I knew, I was looking at a table literally of 14 people around me, one of which was Luke Gygax, and some of the people that are actually in the crowd right now. And I was bowled over. I was shocked and horrified, but yet I ran it. And when people were walking out of it, they saw the module and they were like, oh my God, how do I get one of those? And at that moment is how my company, Castle Entertainment, was born. I was like, there's really a market for me doing this? Well, I guess I can keep doing it. People seem to really like what I was doing. That's kind of how it all started. But the reason I bring this up isn't to give you a background on the company. The reason I bring this up is to tell you, when I first did this, I really didn't have a process. I didn't have like an idea of what I was I was kind of making my own rule book as I went out of what works and what does not. So the advice I'm going to give tonight is stuff that is tried and true tested that I have personally experienced on the contrail and doing myself. Things that I have found that have led to disaster and things that I have done that have led to a really good games. I don't feel like I don't want to filibuster here, though.
No, this is good. No, this is good, man. Tell it all.
Okay.
Tell it all.
Okay.
Like it is. Now let's step back. You're 2014.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
For me, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just part of the community.
Mike.
Yeah, the crew is going to be like 9 of the last 10 people in chat are going to be at GaryCon.
Yeah, my people are here right now too. I noticed Justinius, Greyhawk Mike was at that very first session I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was talking about.
It's going to be an absolute home run here.
Will, you're killing me.
So let's go back to the wonders.
That's correct, Will.
Yeah, the wonders at PAX Unplugged 2018. I had never ever been at a DM'd at a live convention before. I'd been at them, but I never DM'd a live convention. And I was scared shitless, man. I just started streaming in June of that year, and it come around December this year. I'm like, you know what? I need to do this to get my name out there. And so, and there's Walt helping me.
But does the Gen Con session precede this?
No.
Does it precede that?
No, that's 2019.
Okay.
Right, we had Gen Con 2019. Yeah. So here, let me show you this. So I had this group here. I had 2 groups. And there's Wall that helped me on this one. There's David Burke, who signed up for Virtual GreyHawk and is in some of your games. So there's David Burke. So that's where I met David. David's part of the Philly Old School Gamers. But the second game, the next night, Walt wasn't available, and I went in myself, which was even more scary because I had no assistance. And then I ran with this group on the second night. And they're the first 2. Look, I don't even have the shirts yet. So this is early 2018. So and I ran the same adventure twice. You know, it's something that you don't do. But then that comes to where you and I collaborate on what is now our publication, and I got some unbelievable picks for everyone here. I don't know. So a lot of the people in the community have never seen these picks. So Carlos and I.
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh wait. I got one of you.
I remember that corner well. I was just off camera there, a little bit like towards the camera, pacing like a caged animal, waiting for my shot.
There you are. Yeah, this is before I had even started. So this is what happened, everyone. Carlos and I, before it got to Horror in the Hools, we decided, hey, let's run a game together at Gen Con 2019. Now, Anna was there, right? And a lot of the Greyhawk. What was the name of the channel? The Greyhawk channel people were there, and was Mike? Was Greyhawk Mike there?
Yeah. Oh no, Greyhawk Mike wasn't there.
Mike wasn't.
No, I don't think he was there that year. I wasn't part of playing. I was there visiting you because I was working in the booths.
That's right. You were
stuff like that.
Sirenscape. Were you at Sirenscape?
And I was only there for one day.
I came. Yeah, Lone Wolf. Probably Lone Wolf development back then. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I came in only for one day just to run that game and leave.
Yep.
And actually, I ran a charity game on the way. I stopped in Indiana. There's a gentleman I know who's a veteran and doesn't get much contact with people, who lives out in Indiana. I don't think I've ever told this story. And I ran the prototype of what would be eventually the Red Rover game, the first charity game that I wrote, which is Lost Dog.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and he was one of the play testers for that, so that was a lot of fun. And then I came right into town and ran that, and then left.
And what was cool about this with Carlos and myself was we're going to see 2 different styles here, the table, and it's the same players. So I'm going to go 5 hours, break for an hour, and then Carlos is going to go 5 hours. It's a long freaking day.
Wow, what a treat!
On Thursday.
And Mark, 10 hours of gaming like that. Wow.
And you got to also have some context here. We had agreed beforehand that we were going to run Jay's stuff over there. And of course, for me being a pure 1E guy, I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm going to be looking at character sheets that I have absolutely no clue what I'm dealing with here. So I was pretty nervous for that one.
I was nervous too, man, because it's
Curtis.
Oh, yeah, I got great pictures of Curtis and my very good friend Todd Stashwick coming up. That's nice. You'll see laughing out loud now on the chat. So I want to show you guys something about Carlos when he runs stuff. Now you see pictures of me and all. I'm running a number. Look, the terrain is very basic here. Very, because how much can I get to Indiana, right? At the time, but Carlos is like, look, Carlos is Mr. Animated, right? He's up on the table and he's doing all this stuff, and he's like,
I am.
Yeah.
It looks like he's rolling his sleeves up to kick somebody.
It's so like it's.
I think I'm knocking an arrow in a bow right there. If I that seems to be my knocking
Look
arrow.
at this picture.
Yes, there's me. That's.
By the way,
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about my style as far as that goes and why I do the things that I do.
By the way,
But
the ball.
You also have to imagine that that's 5 hours of pent up energy right there.
Yeah, because you had to sit for 6, really.
I'm sitting there ready to go. I mean, I'm walking back and down, up and down like
you wouldn't stop
a
pacing.
caged animal, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And by the way, somebody that's not in those pictures, the great Marco Lucy.
Yes. Yep.
Oh,
Mark,
yes.
Mark was
Who became a dear friend to me when we. I mean, I've met the guy to tell you what a great dude he is. I met the guy one time, and he's just a terrific human being. So I haven't spoken to him in a million years, but I miss him greatly.
Yeah, and Tim and Mark grew up like 4 houses apart from each other when they were kids. So, and here's our group.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you guys were friends.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep.
There's Great Taco Turtle down there.
There's Taco Turtle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who spilled drinks all over Anna at the bar one time.
Well, once, he did it once. It's okay. He survived. Yep.
So from this, collaboration started on Horror and Hools, but just note that was I don't think I DM'd at a con after PAX and before that. It was just all online with my friends and all, and I hadn't started doing the special events that I was doing on the groups and all. All right, so just to give you a little background about the discussion here. So, Carlos.
Well, I'm going to begin all this with a note on what I think the number one piece of advice I could give to somebody running a convention game is, and that is in the time between when your game fills with tickets and the time that you actually are running the game is the most valuable time that you have as a DM. Preparation is the biggest key. I mean, there's that old, failing to prepare is preparing to fail truism, and there is a lot of truth to that when you run an online game. For example, my game just filled up the other day, and in the next 24 hours, I'll be sending out an email to all my players to start dealing with who's going to play what characters, so I can disseminate character sheets. The great thing about tabletop events is it has that ability that you can message your players before the beginning of the game. One of the things, and Scottish Jeff kind of mentioned it over there on the sidebar, one of the things that kills online games is the lack of momentum at the beginning. When everybody sits at the table, everybody's excited. Everybody wants to game. And you can really remove a lot of energy out of the system. You can really kind of submarine your own game by taking too much time to get into affairs. This is something I learned over time myself. Like for example, the first time I ever ran Kill Marquetha at GaryCon, I was doing the whole disseminating character sheets then and whatnot. But nowadays, before I even run my game, generally speaking, people already have their character sheets in hand. They know what's going to happen. And this is also a time when, and sometimes I'm good at this, sometimes I'm bad at this. As time has gone on, I've become better at it. You try and get rid of some of your expository during that time too. Like you can send out a small handout to your characters. This is the situation you find yourself in at the beginning of the game. That way they can be prepared for what the kind of scenario they're going to be playing in. They know they don't have to ask a lot of questions that are going to drain time and are going to drain energy out of the game. Those are, it is a Chicago Bears logo right behind me. As a matter of fact, my Bears blanket right over here. And since it's upside down, I guess it's bear down. But in any case,
Carlos, Mystery Cycle just said the right thing in chat. Just remind me, the last event game I ran, they had to make the pre-gens before when they sat down. You can't have that. You got
No, you cannot have that. You cannot have that. And as a matter of fact,
email
when I run for my game right over here, there's going to be 7 players involved in it. And I have a total of like 11 pre-gens for them to choose from. And the reason for that is you want to add player. Well, I'm probably getting ahead of the cart ahead of the course with that part of the discussion. But by the time we are ready to go, everybody will have a copy of their character sheet. Everybody will have an idea of the scenario they're getting into, and everybody will know how they relate to other players and the environment, so that I do not have to waste time with that, because all it does is suck energy out of the scenario. Hey, Justinius, it's great to see you, man. That's what Justinius over there is one of my dearest friends I've ever met on the convention trail. Great, one of the best gamers I've ever met. Good role player and outstanding knowledge of first edition rules. So I don't know if he gets enough love in the chat, but Justinius is the man.
He got in.
He
was in a game at Gary Con with me last year. Played one of mine, which is awesome to see. So a lot of people crossing over.
If you think about, I don't know how many of you guys are sports ball fans, but if you think about baseball, you hear about guys that are referred to as professional hitters. He's a professional gamer in that he's just a very he's scientific about it. He's got it down to an absolute science.
Excellent.
Anyway, going back to what I'm my main topic here.
Sure.
Yes, that preparation that you have, and then preparation for your own scenario, knowing your scenario inside out. These are all things that you can be doing between that time your tickets sell and the time the actual game comes off. And you think to yourself, you've written the scenario, you know your scenario inside out. I guarantee you do not know your scenario inside out. Because all of you that have been DMs before, you will know one thing to be true. Players will surprise you. Players will find holes where they're not supposed to find holes. Players will stretch the boundaries of your scenario. Players will make you think about your own scenario in ways maybe that you haven't before. So I encourage all of you that are running your game, know your scenario. Know things like, what are your doors made out of? Do they open inward or do they open outward? What is the air quality like? What is the light sourcing like? Know your scenario inside and out, the environment, because your player characters are going to want to know these things. Think of it in terms of as if you were a player character yourself. Okay, you're going into this dungeon right over here. The first thing you're going to want to know is, what can I see? What can I smell? What can I taste? These are the kind of things that your players are going to want to know, because especially the further down the road they are, the more expert a player they are, these things are meaningful to them, because they've seen scenarios in which they've been gas attacked before, they've been ambushed before, they've seen all these things before, and so they're going to want to know right away, okay, what am I dealing with internally? And you want to have an answer right there. And you don't want to have the wrong answer, because if you have the wrong answer, it can affect later encounters that you may have planned. So, like I said, knowing your scenario, knowing it inside out, and having the players be in a position where they can engage and interact with it right away. As soon as they hit the table, those pieces of preparation are critical for you as a DM running a convention game, because you're already going to be in a scenario, especially when you're in a convention. Okay, when, like, for example, virtual Greyhawk Con, I'm lucky, right? In virtual Greyhawk Con, I looked at my list and I'm like, okay, this guy, I know this guy, I know this guy, I know this guy.
Right.
I played with them before, and I know they're all G's, okay? They're all awesome players. When you're running at GaryCon, I guarantee you on your list, you're going to see 2 or 3 names you don't know. You've never seen them before.
Yeah.
They're wild cards to you. So you're already going to be in a situation where you maybe have a little bit of anxiety. You have no idea what their play style is like. You have no idea what their get off on the game is like. So you have to be as prepared as possible, because there's going to be already things in your environment as a DM that are going to challenge you. By reducing those obstacles, you can devote more time to those and deal with them more effectively.
It's great advice, because I found out last couple of years at GaryCon, Carlos, that I had 2/3 of the people I knew, and then there's always one or two I don't know, and I'm like, oh, cool,
Yep.
and hopefully they become permanent fans, or they reach out afterwards.
Scottish Jeff also has a good point. That's something else I want to mention
Yeah.
very quickly before
Go ahead.
I stop soliloquizing here.
Yeah.
And that is, when I'm running a game for online, you guys see, it's like the whole analogy of the duck. You see it above the water, but you don't see the feet paddling a million miles an hour. I have a matrix, an Excel matrix that I write for myself that I have up on my board that the players can't see. And for that is a 2-hit and a damage of every monster against players and players against monsters that is in my scenario. And the reason for it is something he just mentioned. You can't always rely on tools like D20 or or Hero or Forge or whatever like that, or Owlbear Rodeo or whatever you prefer. You cannot expect to have those tools available to you at a con, right? And I don't even use those tools for myself on virtual con. So having those kind of things right at your fingertips, knowing movement rates, knowing distances for light sources, things like that, it's invaluable. It's invaluable. Again, it allows you as a DM to think about decision making, the micro decisions that you have to make as a DM, without having to worry about things that are going to possibly take your entire game down.
Yeah. And that's a funny thing that you just said, because all three of us, and I'm not sure about Anna as far as her online. Tim, you and me do not use VTTs. Tim uses his just to show maps. That's it, though. He doesn't, because he's remoting in for me. None of us are VTT guys, so our mode of play actually works well for conventions.
Something that Johan just said in the chat that is, I think, is very
imposter mode.
It's very important.
Yep.
Is that the reason you feel that anxiety, and the reason you feel the anxiety I talked about before you're with a game, is because you care. You care about how you look as a DM. You care about the game, the experience. You care about your players. So it's natural, if you care, if you give a damn, that you're going to feel anxious. That's the reason I care, is because I don't want to look like an idiot. I've cultivated a reputation for myself as a good DM. People come to GaryCon and pay their hard-earned cash to get in my game.
Yep.
There's a lot of responsibility that I feel for that. I want to give them a show that they're not going to forget. So yeah, I always worry about the experience and stuff like that. But with that said, I'm gonna draw on my personal hero, Wayne Gretzky, for a quote, and that is, nerves are the result of not knowing what the hell you're doing. All right.
Yeah,
okay. No. And that is why it feeds back to that whole preparation thing. If you know what the hell you're doing, those nerves come right down.
Yeah.
If you're prepared, if you're properly ready for the experience, I'm not saying you're not going to be nervous, because you're still going to care, but it's going to go way, way, way down.
It turns from stress to excitement.
Exactly. Moose Gore. I love Gordy too, but I grew up with Wayne, baby. Anyway.
Let's ask.
You can't see it over my shoulder over here, but I got my my Wayne Gretzky jersey over here. So
for me, it's got to be Clarky, but that's okay.
Oh, of course, you're a Philly guy, of course. It's like me dogging on Denny Savard or Bobby Hull or Stan Mikita. It can't happen. All right, even though I love Wayne, can't happen.
Let's ask Tim this question, and then we're going to ask Anna a question. First time you ran on my channel for Not Your Friends. Okay, what was the thought process? Like, or
which one was that?
I'm just saying, your memory. Like, when I ask you to do something and you're running a game and stuff, what were the nerves like the first time, if you recall? You're like Iron Man or something when it comes to
I wasn't. I was excited,
right.
more excited, and not nervous. Was it Dark Hand?
It was eventually. It was the one. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning for the fundraiser. Remember? Gaetano played in it, if I recall.
I think it was Dark Hand.
It was a Dark Hand.
Okay, it was
Yeah.
Dark Hand. Yeah,
Mhm.
It was Dark Hand, which is it's Carlos's fault that I started doing that. I give the credit. He's like, I want to see you run that. I'm like, all right, well, I got to do it now.
Yeah.
So,
But
You
I was
did.
excited.
I really
about
did
it.
want to see you do it.
I was excited about it. It was fun, but I mean, you still feel nerves because you can call it stress, but I don't see it as bad stress. It's excitement, which can sharpen you instead of dull you. Once you're so stressed and nervous, it actually dulls you down. But so I was excited about it.
Well, again, it also helps that you have a friendly audience too, you know.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves Tim. I mean, look at the fan club he has now. You know?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You know,
Well, no, seriously though, Tim is respected and a beloved figure in our particular corner of the world. Of course.
I you know how much I hear less Jay, more Tim on my channel. I hear that all the freaking time, man. So
see, that's why I stay mysterious. That
Yeah,
way,
exactly.
it's always good.
That helps. Yep.
All right. So Anna.
Yep.
How was I know you said you had reservations the first time you streamed your game with your group live.
Yeah. I did something that was both. Yeah. It was both. Half of what I did. Let's go back up and
Sure.
I need to talk about my credentials here because I barely have any. So it's
That's
better
not true,
to talk about
okay.
it. Yeah. But the thing is that I have never run a game at a convention ever. I barely even played a formal game at a convention ever. I've organized conventions. I helped set up conventions. I've helped run conventions. I've worked at conventions. I've attended conventions. So I've probably been to at least 30 role-playing game conventions in my life, both in Europe and in the US, probably about 20 or 15 or something like that. I've been to 8 Gen Cons and a bunch of others. So I've been to a lot of conventions. So that's nothing new to me. I played at conventions, but that has been pickup style games or games that have been kind of Carlos has said, oh, we're going to play in my room and with a group of friends and played. I played games like that, but I haven't signed up to formally go and play a game, so to speak. That I've never done as far as I remember. It's only been like pickup games with friends and stuff. And that's a little bit different. And then I come to virtual Greyhawk Con and someone said, oh, you should run a game. So I thought that, okay, I run a regular session in my game, stream it and invite a couple of extra people and then stream it. So I had the benefit of having most of the players I knew. The scenario I knew was my home campaign, so no news there. The bad thing was that I had a bunch of other players. I had to stream for the first time, and I only had a 4-hour window, so to speak. Everything had to be squeezed within this, so to speak. So I made it both easy. Half of what I've made for myself was easy. The other half was terribly difficult. So this time I've learned from the terrible difficult situation. So I'm going to run with a bunch of new people that I've never met, just have 5 signups. It's going to be take part within the parameters of my campaign, meaning in Shieldlands. So I know the area. It's well mapped out and it's part of the story of my campaign, so to speak. So in that sense, I'm well prepared. And this time it's going to be its own little thing, so to speak. So I'm going to run it, and I'm going to have a proper session 0, maybe even 2 session 0s to set things up, and 1 to sort out the technical difficulties and to get the players to know their characters and the backstories and all that. So
Anna, you're foreshadowing what I'm about ready to bring up for when I get the floor next time.
Yeah, so I'm learning, so to speak, in that sense. But on the other hand, I've run games, my home games for decades. So in that sense, I've run hundreds and hundreds of role-playing game scenario sessions over time with strangers and stuff too. So I've run organized play at game stores and just have people show up at the game table, kind of play with you and stuff. So that have happened when we sit and playing in game stores. So I'm not a complete newbie to the stuff, but it's the 4-hour slot precisely, so to speak, and the stuff that you're going to do it that day, and no matter what, so to speak. You can't cancel anything, you have to do it. So yeah.
So between all of us on this round table, and even Tim and Anna, please, something that you think would be pertinent, like maybe Carlos and I will do 2 or 3 each, pertinent to the audience for prep and for ease of DMing and what you do. For example, Carlos, at GaryCon, to make your DMing experience, is it a sleep cycle regulation, or is it I eat before? I'm serious.
Oh,
I mean, all that stuff.
Oh, you're so funny.
I know you don't get any sleep. That's but
yeah.
Well, here to talk about for sleep schedule, just for a moment. I usually run 3 on schedule games when I'm at GaryCon, but I hate the notion that people tell me that my games sell out really fast when I'm at GaryCon. It's flattering. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that I'm in demand, but at the same time, I hate that people get frozen out that maybe don't have the wherewithal because of a badge or something like that. They can't get my game. I call that the Pearl Jam aesthetic. And so I guess what I do is I run also several games off schedule as well, and I just tell people when they tell me that they can't get in the game, I have that right off the top. I said, hey, can you be here at X time? Because I plan on running an off-schedule game. So because I'm a night owl, I usually exist in life between 7 at night and 7 in the morning. I've done that for like the last 30 years, 20 years almost. And those games end up having to be a little earlier. So when you see me at those games, I'm a little bit bleary usually. But I figure I'll sleep when I'm dead, so whatever. But that's just sleep schedule. What I did want to talk about a little bit, and it's kind of a long one. Do you care?
No.
I don't want to step on all the other guests here.
No.
Something that Anna talked about, and I think it's really important to devote to it, is part of your preparation. I mentioned preparation between when you sell your tickets and before pregame, but there's the whole point of preparation way before that. And it's one of the things about that really, I think whenever you're a DM or whenever you're a creator and you see somebody else's medium, you see things on 2 levels. You're trying to enjoy the medium, but you're also deconstructing it and thinking about stylistically, you're like, I see what he's doing here or she's doing here, and I want to incorporate this in what I do, or man, this just wouldn't work for me or whatever. I want to talk a little bit about what Tim does and what he ran in his Dark Hand 2 games that I played. And I want to relate them to what I do. One thing that I have learned over my course of convention DMing is the most important thing about when you are crafting your convention game, you're crafting your scenario, it's all about scope. Okay, the scope and the scale of your game. And when I say that, is like, for example, and Scottish Jeff asked me a little bit about just now on the sidebar about pre-gens and how do you decide what's going to be in there and stuff like that. Keep this in mind, okay? The lower level that you run your game and the more self-contained the game is, the less chance is that players are going to break it. It's why you see me run a lot of dungeon crawls in games. It's why you see me run a lot of scenarios in which I'm running in that 1st to 5th level area, maybe 7th at the end of it, which is why I marveled at Tim's game, because it's so open world. And you have to and it's one of the reasons why I gave him a lot of credit as a DM just now, is because it takes a really, really good DM in order to be able to run that kind of a scenario within the context of a convention game, especially again with players that you don't know what they're going to do, or perhaps you've never seen them before. They're unknown quantities to you. If you're running a game, lowering the scope of your game, lowering the ambition of your game, while it's really attractive to run at higher levels because you want to show off all the neat stuff, you want to have all the toys available, keep in mind until you've run a couple scenarios out there, my advice is to keep your scale a little bit on the smaller side. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. In my first Kill Marquesson game that I ran, the very first scenario I ran at GaryCon, it was run for character levels about 9th, as I recall. And one thing that and the orc guards, they're running all over the place. They use a lot of war dogs as their alarm system. I failed to remember that one of the pre-gen characters I had in there was a monk who natively has a speak to animals ability.
Mhm.
So I gave him an easy button that I probably shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
And that is,
Unless they did.
but that's an example of the fact that as levels grow, sometimes these innocuous abilities that you may not really think about from time to time. Speak with plants for a druid, things like that. Speak with
Just
animals.
the druid shape change.
Yeah, these things have the ability. These things have the ability to break your game seriously if you are not prepared for them. So, as you increase the scope and the scale of your game, it becomes much more demanding for you as a DM to craft the scenario in an appropriate way that you can account for these abilities. Because one of the things as a DM that you don't want to do, how many times have you guys been in a game right there, you've been frustrated because your DM is clearly nerfing your character because they don't want you to use a certain ability? That sucks. Everybody hates that.
Yep.
You have a character. Yeah, if you have a character and you have powers, that's the cool thing about your character. I want you to be able to use those. I want you to be able to show off. I want you to be able to show off and do cool stuff.
That's awesome.
So I need to craft my scenario in a way that allows you to use your cool stuff without breaking the scenario. So when you're creating, to answer Jeff's question and to talk a little bit more about what you just said about my advice about scope and scale for your games, your pre-gens have to be reflective of the scope and the scale that you want to run, and you're comfortable with running and what your scenario is. The lower level it is, the easier it's going to be for you, because you have less game-breaking abilities. The higher the more esoteric your classes are, when you're talking about characters like illusionists, that are a little bit oblique and have a lot of no save spells, monks, bards, things like that. Now you're starting to get in that area right over there that makes things a little more difficult for you as a DM, and has the opportunity, if you're not real careful with how you allow these abilities to come into play, they have the ability to break your game. So keep that in mind when you're creating your pre-gens and you're allowing classes and things like that. Make sure it fits with the scope of your game and what your scenario can handle, the framework of your scenario. Is it strong enough to handle those class abilities?
So that doesn't
Carlos,
mean. Go ahead, Tim. You can go for it.
I was just thinking when we first played the Dark Hand, and you said, "Can I have a familiar?" And then you turn him invisible, and he was like the spy. That was one of those. If it was creative and cool, and I really liked that, so I don't mind it. It wasn't going to break the game, but it became way useful.
Right.
But I would say, people shouldn't be afraid of it, but they should be ready to accept that that'll happen, because that's
absolutely. And one thing I love to do and again, I always look at things in terms of myself as a player. When I run the scenario, how would I handle this? How would I address it? And my particular class is magic user, and I always try and get a familiar. And the reason being is because I don't see it as much as a vulnerability as a way to I see it as more utility for my character. And like Tim said, I've spent probably 40 years of gaming figuring out different ways to use my familiar in ways that the DM may not expect, or to use. But at the same time, I love giving players familiars in the game because I want to see how they use them. I want to see what they do with them. But like Tim just said, you got to be careful because you never know what your players. The great Gary Holian.
Yep. The great.
But
Gary.
yeah, I love that. But like Tim just said, it's a watch out. Absolutely. It is a watch out.
So you all know Hools. Carlos and I set it for levels 3 to 6, so it's more 4 or 5th. That's a sweet spot. Right?
Did you just see the Cascavellian over there in chat?
Yes.
I'm using Batoon as my familiar.
That's awesome. That's
you have to break him out of that ice, pal.
But I'll use all my special classes that we created because I want people to experience them, in the game. But Rob Phantom brought up a good point. You can choose the spell lists ahead of time.
Mhm.
Like, for example, my game Saturday morning, and this is another thing. All the special players, they're all coming for 5e. They have no idea what most spells do in first edition, plus all the extra spells that come from all the other references. So I got to craft that spell list
Right.
for them so that they can, and make. I don't want them doing anything nutty, crazy, because I don't, because they just don't know. And you
Right,
want to
right.
help them. You push your try to
As
help
an
them
aside,
enjoy it. Yeah,
as an aside,
it's a good
I was
point.
just retained about maybe 2 weeks ago to do a birthday game for somebody
Oh,
as a
cool.
paid gig. Do you know what they asked me to play?
For what they wanted to play.
Yeah, because I said, okay, you're the birthday kid. What
First
do you
edition?
what class do you want to play?
Assassin.
Kind of first, second edition. I'm going to tell you because
Elementalist.
you'll never guess. They
Elementalist.
asked to play your necromancer.
Really?
They name checked you specifically and said, I want to play Jay Scott's necromancer. And I looked at him. I looked at the screen where my Facebook is, and once I was done cussing after the first 2 or 3 minutes, I said, "Sure, that sounds great."
Yeah. Well, I'll get you all the information if you need it. So it's not.
No, I think I have it all. Remember, I wrote part of it.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Well, it's not going to be. What level is it?
5th. So they don't
okay,
deal with. They don't have to deal with consequences and gifts.
Yeah.
So it's no big deal. And remember, I'm writing the pre-gen. I get to write their spell book.
Absolutely. I mean, you give them one fireball because they can cast that, and that's about
Oh
it.
no! Why would I give you? Oh, would I can give you Vampiric Touch?
Now, Vampiric Touch is cool too. Spectral Hand.
Yeah, Spectral Hand, Vampiric Touch combo is perfect for an
Oh,
necromancer.
that's right, because I got Dex the Misunderstood in here, who's a cleric necromancer.
And a scroll with Flesh Shiver on it.
No,
No, I didn't give Flesh Shiver on that spell.
no,
book.
that's
A
a fifth level
scroll. A
spell.
scroll.
Yeah.
Has it been 2 months, Chantel? I didn't realize that. But anyway,
That's great.
it's actually the game is for Chantel. So
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
Chantel is the one who
Okay,
asked
that makes
for
sense.
to play that character.
That makes sense
Yep.
then. Cool, Chantel. Cool.
Awesome.
He's gonna kill you.
Oh, I'm not gonna kill Chantel. On her birthday? Are you kidding me? Why would I do that? How gauche would that be?
The
No, I'll do
sacrifices you have to
something like
give.
I'll energy drain her to first or something like that, and leave her to die in an oubliette or something like that. Got to give me more credit than that.
Before we go to Tim, we'll ask Tim his advice here. This is where Curtis got his mojo from, because he's hanging out playing in my game. He's hanging out here with his friends and all, and our good friend Todd Stashwick's there. There you go. Right there, I did it, Curtis. So yeah, nice from Gary Kahn last year.
The only reason I'm here is because I've known Jade 40 years. So that's my qualifications for being on the stream.
It's been more than 40 years. Which
I know.
Yes,
I rounded it.
Yes, you did. But
Feel free to sign up, Lando. I think there's some spots left.
for which game?
Oh no, the birthday game. I was.
Cool.
Lando said that he's been talking to Chantel
Oh, that's
about.
awesome. So
I just wanted to throw that in there.
Tim, give us something you would be good advice for everyone. Because let me tell you something. I don't make it easy on you. Your games are always first thing in the morning, even though you're up. It's still not a great time slot, and you got to get done in that 4 or 5 hour window, depending on what you're doing.
It was harder initially the first couple of times. Time awareness of how long things take, and pacing to make sure that enough's covered to make it a fun experience, I think is important. It's the most significant change to the way I DM when I'm streaming.
Time pacing.
Did you just read what Greta Wolf said about you?
Love the smell
What
of
did he
death in
say?
the morning with Tim's games. Yeah, well, or torture, or whatever else, or awful traps. Like, didn't you throw God bless his soul, Jason threw his character off a cliff?
All the characters got thrown off a cliff except for Carlos's. He got knocked out by a bounty hunter, and he was the one saying we shouldn't be here. We shouldn't be here, and he was 100% right. I was like, Carlos is going to get an EP bonus on that one because he was 100% correct.
And it was just
But
after we
Anna had such a kill thrill going on. She was blowing up so many goblins, and they were just all like
awesome.
in a blood rage. They wanted to keep going.
You know, Jay, though, what Tim does really well, I just noticed, I was looking earlier before you got on at the Rob Kuntz video, which I hadn't seen quite yet, but Tim does a really good job of channeling Rob in one particular way. One of the pieces of advice that Rob has always given to me, obliquely, I've never spoken to him directly about it, but he always says make sure that your players are seeing stuff that they've never seen before, that they can't
Yes.
prep for. Make sure everything seems new and magic. And I will never forget when we saw the final bad guy in the first Dark Hand game, and it's this horrific Hydra-like monster
it's
with
disgusting.
multiple spitting breath weapon heads and all kinds of auras to it and everything. I'm looking up at this thing and going, what in the flying F is this? And how
Can't
do
look
I
that up in
deal
the
with
monster
it?
manual.
The
I mean,
Beast
you know,
of
I
Red
mean,
Neld.
my character, I actually told him, if you remember right in the game, I said, my character actually takes a couple steps back staring at this thing. And I did that. I said that out loud because it's exactly what I was thinking as a player. Like, I'm horrified and I have absolutely no idea what to do right now.
Yes.
So that's a great Tim move, and that's a great Tim lesson for you guys out there running con games. Is if you keep that sense of wonder alive in your players, keep that sense of keep them off balance with stuff that they've never seen before, and I mean even stuff that they possess. Like for example, don't feel like my character, for example, in Tim's game was given a couple of custom magic items. I had so much fun with him because it was stuff I'd never done before. I mean, I'm playing a sandbox that I've never played in before. And that's a lesson that Tim does that you guys can apply to your own games. Just make sure it stays within that scope I talked about, doesn't break your games. But giving players cool, fun powers that they've never seen before is great. It's great. Don't be afraid to go a little bit off track with that.
And you can always find, even if you think everyone has all those monster manuals memorized from the old days if you're an old school DM. I mean, look, Carlos and I put a syphil in frickin' Fiendful in the holes, right?
There is nothing I love more than pulling out Fiendfolio and Monster Manual 2. I remember Justinius, right?
Yeah.
Justinius over there, and we were running Die Marquesa Die, the second of my Marquesa modules, which is when I met him at Gary Con. And I threw out a monster out there, and him and his three pals that he was there with, it was like they were in chorus over there saying out the weaknesses of the monster and how many hit die it had. And I'm sitting there like, okay, that can't happen next time. That can't happen next time. Because when you're playing with expert players, they know this stuff, right? So pull out those Fiendfolio monsters, pull out those Monster Manual 2 monsters, put twists on your own stuff. I'm about to relaunch my Patreon here later this year, and I've got already 15 custom monsters that you've never seen before to horrify and terrify your players with that I'll be releasing through that. So I'm already on track with that, my own advice there, and you guys can I really encourage you to do that because Tim is a master at that.
Yeah, for my game for the virtual Greyhawk, that will be the Master Villain is a monster that I've designed specifically with this type of adventure in mind, so to speak. So it's a new monster that I've talked about it. If you go back and watch every episode of Legends and Lore and Gabbin, I mentioned it once.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go back, but you have to watch like 50 or 60 episodes to get
You
there.
should see the looks on my players' faces
Yeah.
when I ran Witch Queen's Lament down for GrogCon, and I pulled out the Magnesium Spirit from Fiendfolio.
Yeah, that's
I
a
think
good
this
one.
Nobody was ready. I
Yep.
look like the Joker. I swear to God, from the comic books, because just the looks on their faces, like, oh no, what is? Does anybody remember that thing? Oh yeah.
But I think that's important because on the previous virtual Greyhawk, I had the zombie goats with the new monster. This time, this monster is going to be way cooler than the zombie goats. In a way, this is a monster I've figured out long before the zombie goats. But I like the zombie goats. They turned out way better than I thought. But this monster is nasty. Yeah. Really nasty. Yeah. And it's also very, very true to story. So it is very integrated into the story, even more so than the zombie goats. Yeah, and I have the art ready. Yeah.
So, a couple things I said real quick to John and Will when I was talking to him about prep for GaryCon was some things I do. I get up early. I make sure I eat a good breakfast. No, I'm dead serious. I make sure I pump myself up with some coffee. I make sure, because normally that's why I run. Hey, darling, I run my games early in the weekend, and I'd like to keep Saturday night, Sunday free. I don't get bombed, plastered the night before I'm going to DM. I'm dead serious. I mean, that's something I don't want to go. I do not want to go into DMing with a hangover.
I haven't. I quit drinking 25 years ago, so I don't have to worry about that.
Well, you don't. But I'm using this as advice for some of the, just to say some things.
Oh no, you're absolutely right, though.
Yeah.
You want protein for breakfast, right?
Gary, I'll get to that in a second. Yeah,
I will too. I have actually a strategy for that.
I also, and Curtis knows this, and he's talking about it in chat here. I run all my games at the same time. All of them. 9 a.m.
You run between 10. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 9 a.m. So for Founders and Legends, 9 a.m. Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
So you run them in the morning in that way.
9 a.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I have 6 times I'm DMing over those 2 weekends. 9 a.m. Same slot, and I'll tell you why. There's no one before on that table. I don't have to worry about them being late. Number one.
Good idea.
2. I have to set up terrain. So if someone else is on that table, then it's even worse for me. So I got to get that terrain set up. So I can go in there in my leisure an hour early, set up. If I don't like the table I'm on, if Skip Williams gets pissed, I don't care. I move the numbers around. I sit at the table I want to sit at. Sorry, Josh, you heard that.
So you're the one to blame for that.
So
you're near my table.
Yes. I got to make sure I'm near a power outage. And all the power. You know how it is. So, prep work also.
Poor Josh. I made Josh last GaryCon have to dig out a friggin' power cord for me because I didn't have a power cord near my table. He was a trooper about it, but I felt so bad because he's making me swear to return it in good shape and stuff like that because I don't think it was his. I don't know where the hell he got it from. I felt terrible, but well, maybe not so terrible.
We got a real good question, and I'm gonna answer that in a second, Gary. So, Carlos, I watched what he did a lot, and I learned from him, and I adapted some of the things he did into what I did, and because every year if you all notice, I push myself more and more and more at these things, and again, that's what ties in. So much so that I had, and just like 2 weeks ago, it's not going through. I can actually take this man and make him paranoid when I'm DMing for him, and that's saying something. He wouldn't even. Nice. And Sky Chef just put it in chat. He was afraid. His Greyhawk mage was afraid to cast spells at the end because he's like, I know you got a minor globe up. I'm not even going to try and cast a spell. So he runs up with an alchemy jug, literally, Carlos, and starts pouring cyanide down the baddie's throat because he was so afraid.
Wait a second. Did you say in Greyhawk? Did he plane shift? I kid. Anyway,
Ed Greenwood's an honorary Greyhawk legend now, because it's just. But yeah, I can make Ed paranoid, so I've reached that pinnacle of my existence.
Gary had a good comment.
Voice.
I want to bleed that into 2 things. Because the Cascavellian had a really good comment too that I want to reach it too. And they're kind of, one of them bleeds into the other pretty nicely. The first of them being, they asked about your voice. Next to my table at all times, I keep Ricola dual action cough drops. They are kind of they numb the throat and they soothe it. I usually don't use those red ones. That's just the package I happen to have over there. I use the honey ones. But I remember like at the second GaryCon I went to, I was running a lot of games. I was running like 10 games. And my voice was absolutely wrecked. And I still had like 4 games left to run. and the Cascavellian, who happens to be my best friend Jeremy, in his alias over there, but he was like, "You're not going to survive unless I get you something." Like he's trying to give me tea or something like that, right? Because he's a huge tea guy, and I can't stand tea. I would have just thrown it up or whatever. But he was like, "Why don't you get these cough drops that I know about, and they'll probably help you." And I've lived on those things ever since. I have like an entire a tin of them up in my my kitchen, like a very large one, where I just empty bag after bag into them, just so I'm ready to go. And I take a package of them on the road with me. And I know I might sound like a commercial for a cola right now, but it's true.
You
it's
have to
important
at
to take ones
conventions.
you like too, not ones that. Are
Sorry, Canadian, it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
And I know I'm half Asian too, so I'm breaking my heritage there without the tea, but it's the truth. I just don't dig tea.
Tim, do you remember what I used all the time for my throat when we were younger? All the time.
Chloroseptic.
Yeah, see, he remembers. I had chloroseptic ball.
But you're not supposed to
Chloroseptic
swallow
dries
that
my
stuff.
throat out though too much. And I do voices and stuff like that. So it's just totally not gonna work for me. But Cascavellian asked about how you deal with unruly players at your table, and when you're at games. I'm not going to totally 100% answer that, but it does open me up to something I do want to talk about. And I've often talked about this with people, but I don't think I've ever said this online before, because I've never really had this kind of a forum for it. But one thing I do want to talk about, besides the preparation, the single most important thing I can stress to you as a con DM, because you are going to get players you've never seen before. They're going to be totally unknown quantities for you. The number one skill that you can develop as a DM is not rules. It's not conversance with anything like that. You have to be able to read your players, okay? And the faster you can read your players, the better. And when I say read your players, I'm not talking about like what they're going to do in the game or anything like that, because you're never going to do that. Okay. What I'm talking about is you have to be able to identify very quickly what they get out of the game.
Right, and know how to placate them.
How do they derive enjoyment from the game?
Yeah.
Or do they enjoy the combat aspect of it?
Yeah.
Do they enjoy the role-playing aspect of it? Are they a hybrid? Which do they slant more towards? Are they interested in the scenario right now, right away, or do you have to sell them on it? Do you have to? There's a lot of things that go into it. It's a very soft skill, but it's probably the most important skill I can think of. And the reason I bring this all up is because, I know you're all kinds of crunchy, Cascavellian, but not when it comes to playing games. In any case, for example, you're sitting around a table with a bunch of new players, right? And if you run the game just as written, it may come off well, it may not come off well. But I can guarantee you have a way better chance of it coming off well if you subtly tailor it to the interests of your players based on what you read off of them. Yeah. And you can tell this stuff within an encounter, within the whole conversation before the game, all the BSing that we do before the game while everybody's waiting to sit down at the table. Read the little social cues, read the things that they give you. I've only had myself to answer the question more directly. I've only had one character that I thought was a problem character, and it turned out he wasn't a problem character. I was misreading the situation. So I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but when you project yourself well and you tailor the game to your players properly, you'll find that you don't really have problem players because you've already engaged them in a way that they want to be engaged.
So no, dead on. And to tie that in, Carlos, Jeff has a great question, and I'm gonna help you answer this.
I missed it.
What do you do when there's players who have literally no experience with the game or version? We have 3 players out of 8 who had no clue, took forever on their turn. You see what I do in live streams with my streamers who have barely played first edition. I will recommend what they should do as a DM.
Mhm.
Just to keep the game. You have to keep the game moving.
And when they're guests, he tells the truth with a good recommendation.
Right, absolutely.
When it's the regular fellas, he doesn't.
No, because you
Yeah.
guys have been playing for 40 years, 43
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to the trenches for just a second on this one, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where Tim feels most comfortable. I know. No, seriously though, you're at a convention, and when I throw out my game, I don't say no experience required for my advertisings, but I do say minimal experience required for two reasons. Okay, number one, I want to introduce new people to the game.
Absolutely.
It is our responsibility as old school DMs and to be ambassadors of our hobby. Okay, and what I mean by that is introduce new players to the game, show them why what we do is cool. Okay. A lot of times they come in against their better judgment. They're 5e players and they're resistant to first edition games or something like that because they've heard things. Okay. And a lot of times what they've heard is valid. Okay. So you have to win them over a little bit. You have to show them, hey man, D&D is D&D. The rule set doesn't matter. We're here to have fun and we're going to have fun, damn it. Okay. So when you have new players in your game, what I have a tendency to do is I will, I have everybody around the table introduce themselves right away to each other. When I have players that do not have any experience, I will ask them to sit next to a player that does.
That's a good idea.
Like, for example, Jeremy Cascavellian was sitting next to a brand new player and giving them advice. I say him right between two other players and said, "Oh, this is where you want to look on your sheet for this. This is, he's pointing out for this, or, maybe he's not even giving them advice on telling him, or that, or her, this is what you should do on your round. Maybe they just tell them what your options are in this round, or they tell them, they're confused on what they see on a character sheet because it looks like a bunch of numbers of them. Oh, this is where you need to look on a character sheet because he's familiar with my sheets. He's played about 57 million games with me before. He knows.
Yeah.
So you sit these players next to more experienced players and you allow them, and you always make sure that when you sit them next to a player, you sit them next to a player that is a friendly player, so that they can, again, it makes them feel more drawn into the experience and it makes them understand that they're in a friendly environment.
Mm-hmm. But my trick when I try to and it works with a lot of experienced players too, but especially with new players, is that you explain it for their character, so to speak. So you say that, your character is an experienced fighter. He would know that this and this and this trick had worked 10 times in his career before, so to speak. So you speak to the experience of the character and let the players kind of chime in on it as we go, so to speak. So if they like what I'm supposed to do, and your character knows he's smart, he's been around the bend before, he knows this and this and this, and that works. So that way you don't have to sit and explain the rules much and stuff, and you do it over time because they will learn. And we all been beginners, even if it was a long time since we were beginners. But it's
no, you're absolutely right. That's the thing you got to remember is that your conversance with the game is not universal. Especially, and that's especially true, okay, when you're playing like Jay and Tim, okay? Nobody plays the game like Jay and Tim because they have a lot of hybrid rules and custom stuff that's been done over years and years and years of gameplay. And that's cool as shit, but you're not starting off on a level playing field with everybody. You can't expect that if you're using your rule set. I remember, in fact, when I was running Horde in the Hoods with Jay, that was my first reticence, as I'm like, dude, we are not speaking the same language here, you're at all. How am I going to run these guys after it, especially since you're running first with character sheets I barely understand?
Right, there's a huge difference between a 1E pure and a 1E 2E hybrid of 40 years. No, you're dead on, Carlos, which made it fun for me at least. But no, what you're saying is dead on true. And what it takes, and this is where you have to DM and you have to learn by doing. So the recommendation I have for everyone who's going to be at Gary Con who has a stream or is a DM at least one time there, And if you take your lumps a little bit, it's okay, man. It's okay. People will understand that. but you have to be able to set some rules. Gary just asked about backseat DMing. We'll address that one in a second. But for the people who you got to push them along, you can't let Is there anything worse, everyone, than watching a stream and they're sitting there and one round took an hour because everyone took 3 to 5 minutes each turn, and they go, "Oh my God, I forgot I have a bonus action," and then it just goes on and on and on. That's why I hate. That's why Travi drives me nuts. But boom,
bonus
boom,
actions.
Boom, boom.
What are those?
Well,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. For us, it's no big deal. And that's why I say who goes when. Boom, boom, boom. Get them done. You got to get the actions done. Let's be honest here. How many encounters can you have in 4 hours at most? 3 probably is it. 1 big fight and 2 small fights in a 3-hour period.
Yeah.
At most. What do you think?
I disagree. For me, in a 3-hour game, based on preparation and stuff like that in a dungeon crawl, I can have as many as 25.
What?
In 4 hours.
Yeah, for me, it's 3 hours.
But remember, you have more rule weight than I do.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't have a ton of rule weight, and that's the biggest difference.
Yep.
It really depends specifically on your style and your addition and everything like that. That's why I think this is a great forum, is because you and Tim are playing essentially a different rule set than I am. And so it shows how
Tim,
what you're doing shifts a little bit. The advice will shift a little bit based on the platform that you're using.
That's true. John, the blue box said if it's Tim, 1.
Absolutely, mathematically not true.
So going back to the thing that
was a big fight, though.
Go ahead, Carlos.
That Gary asked, and I think Cascavellian was interested in it too, about backseat DMs.
Yes.
Okay, so nowadays I don't have this problem because when people are joining up your group and you're selling out games in like a minute and a half and things like that, people already expect you to be a subject material expert, and they don't want to look dumb, so they don't challenge you too much, right?
Yeah, same thing here.
Because I can make a player look dumb pretty fast in when it comes to 1E. I mean, not to be arrogant or anything like that, but
no one's questioning
I'm pretty comfortable with what I do, right?
Yeah.
But when I first started running these things, what you have to remember is that players are all there to enjoy the experience, right?
Yes.
Like I said, some of them have a different enjoyment than others, and some of them like to know how smart they are, and they will they'll manifest that by saying, "Oh, by the way, so and so rule, whatever." Don't think to yourself that don't be above. If they're right, let them be right. That they will feel like they're more tied into the experience that way. And I find that if you try and snuff out players like that early, you're creating a bigger problem for yourself.
Quick example.
Let them contribute and just be on point with your rulings, and you're generally going to be okay. And again, that goes back to scope. If you're lowering the scope of the game, you don't have to worry so much about these esoteric rulings that you're going to get challenged on.
A quick example of that happened yesterday. Playing the game, very end of the fight, April Hill, who I love. Everyone knows April Hill is great. She has Kyanthir Fire Elementalist. She already cast 2 fireballs at 3rd level. She went to cast Flame Arrow at 3rd level. It's a little bit different description. We changed it, Carlos. And I'm like, April, you can't. You cast all your 3rds. She hadn't cast any 4th. She had 1/4. She says, "Well, can I up? Can I, whatever they do in 5th edition? Can I up it to 4th?" And I said to myself, "What the hell not? Go ahead. You can burn your 4th level slot for a 3rd for this time, but I'm going to take a hero point or 2 away from you." And it was done, and we moved on, right? And I would never do that in my group. Right?
No, he wouldn't.
I would never do that in my group. But with players who don't know the 1E, 2E system, you play, and they're there to enjoy it, and they're there, and they're thinking out loud, and they're thinking about what to do to try and finish. I put them up against a crypt thing at the end, by the way.
Right.
So,
but what you're saying is very valid too, because I remember when I was running Witch Queen's Lament, one of the Pregens in there
Hey,
is an
Alex.
Orcish cleric, and I mean full Orcish cleric of Luthic,
Oh,
right?
nice.
And so the weapon of choice that they're using are these massive finger claws, right? And of course, the character that got that was the least experienced player. It was somebody's girlfriend and had really no idea what they were doing. And
Mhm.
what's fun is, and this kind of goes into a little bit onto what Gary was asking about: do experienced DMs make the best players? I don't think so. I think that they can, but I think that new players can be just as great players, because I know by the end of that, she felt so comfortable with that character and comfortable with everybody around the table that I remember her beating some guy on the neck by the end of it and using her claws going Wolverine on the thing, ripping his entrails out. And we're all sitting there aghast at this person doing that. But it was rule of cool, like Wiley just said over there. I mean, I was like, you know what? Let's just go with this. I'm not gonna crush this player over here who's a brand new player. The game, the combat's already decided. Let's just have some flavor fun with this.
Yeah.
All right.
I always want to have a new player or two in
Yeah.
a game group, in a campaign, because I love
Right.
new players. That they are some of the most fun. Meaning people like me have been playing too long. We kind of fall into and we know the game, so to speak. We can play roles or whatever. But new players, they come in with that kind of, this is awesome, and that kind of energy and excitement is wonderful
sure.
to have. So I can recommend to have a new player in every game. It's awesome to have.
Antiquitous, the dude couldn't even look her in the eye by the end of it. At the beginning of the game, he was sitting there giving her advice on what to do on her character sheet. By the end of it, he was kind of like, I don't even know this person over here. In fact, if anybody else wants to date her, go ahead, because I don't even know who this is.
He's like, she's a better player than me now.
Yeah, and it was so great.
Alan,
It was so great.
Alan's in chat, so I'm trying to say, Alan, come on into the game.
Yeah, he's welcome. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Alan, if anybody knows about this, remember, I took a lot of my cues initially from Alan.
Yeah.
So he's a subject expert in this to begin with.
And I want him to answer a question that I've got from some of the people, and I won't name names on it.
And I think since you guys are working on Alan's thing over there, and we're talking about new players, something else you got to remember, right? Okay, what we're all here because we are in love with D&D so much, and we're in love with the world of Greyhawk. We were all new players one time. Imagine if when we were new players, what our lives would be like if somebody would have, if we wouldn't have had that joy of the game that inspired us to do more with it, or make it more of a part of our lives. I would never want to take that away from a human being, because it's done so much for me in my life, and it's enriched my life and made me feel things and take me places I never thought I'd ever go.
Yep.
So for me personally, I think having new players is great, but it's not only cool because of the energy; they're the lifeblood of the game. This thing dies out without new players. So it's our responsibility as experienced players and DMs, as custodians of the hobby and custodians of the world of Greyhawk.
There he is.
It's important for us to usher these new people into the game and make them feel like, hey, show them, hey man, this is why we love it. Alan, my man.
The Crow Dog of Greyhawk is on. Alan's been on a roll. He's been on a lot of shows lately, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys.
Great.
Rob Kuntz is one, and so everyone, just gonna put this out here. Rob is trying to figure out how to DM a game at Virtual GrowdCon. Okay, we're working on it, but he lives in Corsica, so Discord's messed up.
But he's on Discord now, so that might
he can't
help.
he can't hear him. So
gotcha.
So Alan and I'm going to talk with Alan at some point, Alan, about Zoom versus WebEx and maybe what directions he needs to go. But with that, all right, we can get with that. But Alan is I'm sorry, Rob is attempting to put in a game where he wants to DM for it. So we're trying. All right, just so everyone's aware. So Alan, welcome. Thank you for coming on. Give us a great DMing tip, and then I want to ask you a follow-up question.
A great DMing tip.
Yeah, DMing tip.
Roll natural 20s. I mean,
DMing at a con. DMing at Gary Con.
Okay. I think having pre-gens really helps with setting stuff up for conventions, and then also having a kind of a clear mission for the players. Some of the convention games I ran in my version of Castle Greyhawk early on at early Gary Cons in North Texas's and other conventions were sort of a little bit more like you were playing in my campaign, and that can work okay. But I think if you give players a clear objective and some guidance on how to get there, whether that's a treasure map or, starting them halfway there or whatever, it makes a better convention game experience, as opposed to just sort of like, well, you're starting out here in Bottle City. Good luck finding something interesting in the first 2 hours.
Right. No, good point.
That's a scope thing I was talking about for everybody watching right now too. The
So-
idea of scope and how to tailor your scenario appropriately for the game.
Here's the follow-up question. You have the largest number of sign-ups to play in your games during Virtual GradCon. How do you handle 8 players?
I think 8's a good number.
Okay.
I've run convention games with 16 to 20 players, but not for D&D, for Aliens.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a different environment. But I've run large games with 12 or 13 players. Once you hit about, depending on the group, once you hit about 10, I think, unless the players are really sort of already used to each other and fairly well in sync, and stuff, then it kind of starts to break down, and players end up kind of sitting idle, or they just don't get any kind of camera time or FaceTime and stuff. So I think for me, I feel like 8's a very manageable number for an online game or for a kind of a regular in-person game.
Okay.
How about you woefully under ambitious here?
Well, no, I do 6 now. I do 6.
I'm doing 7, so
Yeah.
I'm doing 5, so but
Tim's
it's
doing
the first,
6. Yeah.
second time. So
That's
yeah,
okay, Anna. I mean, that's a good
it's
number.
okay. Yeah.
Especially for
Four,
a
Yeah,
live
six
stream.
is good.
And I think it really varies from system to system too. I would not feel comfortable running that many players, in a different system, that I was less,
Yeah, like
that I'm
third
kind of
edition
happy
or
with.
some. Yeah, that will be.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, especially, I mean, it's really easy to run AD&D kind of on the fly when you need to. That's the thing that always I found difficult about 3E was it was difficult to improvise for me around all the different skills and feats and stuff, especially for higher level NPC characters and stuff. You can't just drop a 15th level magic user in the game as a wandering monster and not have it already statted up in 3rd
Yep.
edition.
A lot of people are saying they do many. I guess.
Well, for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
yeah.
DM John just said 8, and Rob's saying he'd do 8 if it wasn't live streamed. Live stream takes another to another level. But okay, that's cool. And Tim's got 6.
what Von Mulkew just said though is really important too. The more experienced your player base is, the easier it is. I wouldn't have introduced the other. I had 5 initially, but when I saw the mix, I knew that I could accommodate a couple more.
Gary says 8 seems a lot to him. So what are your thoughts on, Alan, why you love 8, for example, in the 2 Virtual Con games, just as an example?
Well, I like there being a good diversity of character types.
Okay.
And I like players to have a lot of different flexible options. So when I'm running a game in my Castle Greyhawk, I usually have 16 pre-gens available.
Okay.
And the players kind of pick whatever they want based on maybe the background of the scenario and what they prefer to play or what they've never played before. So I've had a number of folks say that that's the first time they played a druid in a game, or the first time they played, a paladin or things like that. So I like to have a lot of options, and I think there's a lot of character combinations and classes there in the game to play with.
And
so.
and 1st edition allows that a lot more to 5th.
Something that I should mention about 1st edition D&D, that there's an aspect in that game that makes things easier too, and it's something I think is super duper important when you're running a convention game, is establish a caller for the party. I don't know that that's a thing in 3rd edition or even in 2nd edition, as far as I know, but having a caller in the party who is the main go-between between the party and the DM is is instrumental, because that allows it avoids the whole getting players getting words in edgewise that was discussed.
No problem. No, it's a great point too, Carlos.
But that might not work as well virtually, because then the players can't talk among themselves. They have to chat in.
What usually happens is when the caller or the DM has the floor, I establish they have the floor. After those moments, everybody else can commit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's a good advice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Tim. Are you ready for this? What would it take to get you to be at an in-person con within 50 miles of where you live?
Timing.
Which is tough because you have to plan that stuff months in advance. Because a lot of us know Scottish Jeff and Tick Wordis and all, Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo is first weekend in January, and that would be cool to have you actually.
What is that?
The Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, which is in. All right, here we go. I will. As we're waiting for Alan here, I'll show.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. What's the?
I'm going to tabletop events, and I'll show you.
What's the financial obligation and timeline?
None, because I'm a VIP guest there, so whatever I say goes. Because once again, I'm throwing my weight around. Yep, here it is, Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. Who out there is going? Here, I know Alex is going, right? Anyone else in the audience going to this? So let me know. So you can't. Oh, I know Chet's a VIP guest too for this. Chet Minton.
Katana, is that something that you would do?
Rob is maybe. Yeah, it's good to be the king. Yeah, I know. So, yep. Tim, you had 8 for 1 underdog team. Yeah, and that was painful. So I want to get Tim to DM something in person. It's different than online. And Tim's done large games. I mean, you've had huge games at college and in the military.
The biggest I've done was 12, and the longest I did was 19 hours straight. So that's a young man's game, though.
Mm-hmm. I remember when we played 24 hours.
Do I have that mugshot photo somewhere? But it's not ready quickly, so I'm not going to show it with the mugshot photo or the poster. But all right. I'll work on that. I'll work on trying to get you there. All right. Here's my question for Carlos.
Talk to me, brother.
Luke asked me to run for Founders and Legends a classic D&D adventure over the 3 days of it. Now, maybe there'll be different signups and stuff. Horror in the Hools is great because there's a stop point between the two. So I could run 2 parts on that if I ever do that. By the way, this is what I'm running at Page, everyone. I'm running this. How or have you done? I'm doing Tharisden. Thank you, Gary Julian. I was going to do Baltron's Beacon. Gary convinced me to do Tharisden because it was written by Gary. It's great, right? Give me some suggestions for running this for 3 straight days.
3 straight days with the same party?
Well, it could be
3 separate sessions or 3 separate sessions?
3 separate sessions, but continuing on from the first to the second to the third, not restarting. Running it, continuing to the end. 3 days, because again, this is going to be about 12 hours. Okay,
so what you're got to remember about that module in specific is I have yet to play a single session of that module that did not degenerate into an all-out brawl right in front of the temple.
Which I like.
Which is fine, right. But you have to remember that is not only a possibility, but a probability that it will happen that way. So when you're thinking about your timing for the adventure, allocate your time in such a way that you're sure that you can get in that fight.
Whether it's day 1 or day 2 or whenever.
Right. And keep this also in mind. Tharisden players are going to die. There will be attrition. Okay. So if you're starting with, 8 players or 6 players, if you're starting with 6,
got to have replacements.
Are you at the top of the expected levels for it, or are you in the middle?
I haven't even done that yet. That's why
if you're starting at the top end, then you might have 4 by the time they go into the temple itself. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
Which means their life expectancy is extremely short.
Okay. All right.
So I don't think you're going to have any problem with timing at all. I think you're going to conclude way before the end of that session.
Okay.
If you run it raw.
All right. Just wanted to know because this is the first time I've done this where I took the
Like
same
I said,
adventure
the
one
main
after-
thing,
yeah,
the
and
main thing you got to
yeah.
remember about that one is that is probably a high probability that that's going to happen. That fight in front of the temple, and as a result of that, you calibrate what you're doing around that possibility probability.
Fight/massacre.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, hashtag murder massacre. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a brutal one because that mountain giant that's in there is probably going to have at least 2 more hit dice than any player that you've got in there. Plus you're dealing with Norkers, which have extremely high armor classes. Yeah, you're going to have some
other fun
fatalities.
stuff going on.
You're going to have some fatalities.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You know, that and Showcanth combined, but this is what I went with over Showcanth.
It's funny. The approach to that temple is also, it's so bad because it's kind of thinned out. There's really a limited space that you have to deal with. So when it comes to the all-out brawl, you're locked in, bro. You're locked in. There's no retreat, no surrender, and you're gonna have fatalities.
Okay.
Be ready.
Awesome. Very cool. Let's get it.
See you later, Justinius. It's great to see you, my man.
Yeah, it's okay. See you, Justinius. I hope you have a good one.
Yep.
Thank you,
See
Greg.
ya.
All right, so here's a question from Gary brought out, and let's go to Tim first because he's watched this answer because I want to see how he answers. And we'll go clockwise from there. Question: how important is finishing a one-off adventure, not something that's going to be done down the road, in the allotted time? What strategies do you employ to land that bird on time in the middle of the carrier? Go ahead, Tim. Military reference. What are you doing now to make sure that thing gets done in the allotted time?
I kind of establish by segments, by like when things should be done, like when certain phases of the adventure should be done. And so as that time approaches, I either streamline it to make that timeline, or if I break that timeline, I streamline it to the next part of it to make it go quicker, including maybe changing encounters or things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Or adding. But I don't think I'm that good at it, frankly. So
no, but you're getting better.
I'm getting better, yeah.
You are getting better, and it was a thing. But it was Tim. It's just due to experience. It's a different play style from the way we played when we were kids.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we'll get back to it tomorrow night. We're all hanging out all weekend.
Right.
You know, it's completely different.
And also remember, in those days, everything was kind of campaign, really. You know, so even if you were running a module in the context of the campaign, it was kind of like, this is the never-ending story. So what does it matter if we finish up tomorrow?
Yep,
I get that.
Anna, how about your answer to that? What would you do to cut the time down, or is time not important? Is it important to finish? According to
that was my big issue last year, and the way I dealt with it, and I was much more successful than I thought I would be, because I was like, that was my only. I wasn't nervous about anything else except that I would not make even 10% of what I wanted to do. So I was relentless. I pushed the players forward. I scared the bejesus out of them. I basically had monsters thrown at them constantly. The story went forward. I had a couple of NPCs I put in the story just so I can have those NPCs herd the characters forward through the story, so to speak. And then when I was and I started out with a horrible tempo at the beginning, so to speak. First I was slow for 10-20 minutes, and then I unleashed hell on the party right away. I went for almost wipeout to beginning, so I got the players so scared so they had to run to the next one. So they fled from the first encounter to the second one, and then when I was into the third one, I realized, I have an hour and a half now. I can slow down a little bit, and that's when I lowered the tempo a little bit. So I was relentless. I pushed through the story so fast in the beginning, so I saw that now I have a little bit of a leeway here, and that's when I can start talking about things. I just ran through things so quickly. So that was my advice. Run really fast in the beginning, push things through so fast so you have plenty of time at the end for some cool finale or elaborate things later on, so to speak. Don't dwell on things in the beginning. Just run them through like really quickly.
Carlos, how about the answer to that question?
So one thing I love to do is I like to have mechanics baked into the pie that force players to go faster. Like, for example, Sanguine Labyrinth. Once you get in there, you realize that the air is toxic.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Oh, just like Tomocon,
You
same
better,
thing.
you better hurry up.
Oh yeah.
And you better hurry up to find someplace that you can go that is not toxic.
Yep.
That tends to make the players go a little faster. Another one, like Kill Marquesa and to a lesser extent, the Witch Queen's Lament. When you go into the scenario, you go in knowing that you have intelligence. Yeah, Renette is like that too, Von Malkio, but you have your characters have intelligence that this target is going to be here for 3 hours at a time. If you don't do anything about it, they will escape, and they will do whatever that's so horrible that you're trying to stop them from doing to begin with. So you better hurry. Those kind of things are real good enticement for player characters to get their asses in gear. Especially the one about the toxic or corrosive air in Sanguine Labyrinth, which I've got players over here that have played in it before, like Cascavellian. They'll tell you all about how that motivates you as a player.
I remember first time I ever did Hidden Shrine to Moacon, and it was you were taking damage every round, every turn.
Yeah, I did.
Gas.
I definitely
like, oh
took the I took the cue from Matt, and as a matter of fact, I did the same thing in Heart of Winter, in which Heart of Winter the environment is so bad, it's so cold in there, much like the bottom areas of Thurisdan, that you're down there. You better hurry up because you're not going to make it if you don't. Yep. You're taking damage. It's horrible. It's cold. Water is your enemy. Things like that. So there's certain ways that you can motivate player characters to go a little bit to up the tempo through environmental concerns like that, and I like to introduce those in my games. But you also have to understand in my games when I'm running them, generally speaking, I'm running a game at a con as a play test for me to release it. Okay. So I don't necessarily mind, like I believe that Tim mentioned it earlier. I don't mind skipping certain encounters that I am comfortable with from a playtest standpoint and making sure that the players get to the good stuff that I need to see how it works.
Okay. So, good one, Carlos. And how about you, Alan, on that time thing? Is it necessary?
When you're running like a 4-hour timed tourney, I think in my mind it's kind of a lot up to the players.
Okay.
If they can hustle and move through, that's great. Like if I'm running an adventure from Carlos's or from Paul for his tournaments at GaryCon and stuff, I don't change stuff up. The players should have a good enough time playing that the scenario, that will support that, regardless of whether you kind of bottleneck at the beginning of the scenario and never get beyond level 1, which is what happened when I ran the Temple of Elemental Evil scenario for Paul this year. The crew that I ran spent a lot of time fighting fire giants because they tried to go into the temple through the previously known northeast entrance straight into the dungeons, and that's where the fire giants were waiting to ambush them. So they, and they had a good time. It was fun, but they didn't particularly score well in the tourney.
Right.
But when I'm running my regular, Castle Greyhawk levels and stuff, I usually play longer sessions. So I don't do just a 4-hour slot.
Right.
I'll usually do a 5 or a 6-hour slot. And then it's just a matter then of,
How
changing
far
up
to
the
get?
scope as
Yeah.
you need to. Yeah. Well, based on, what you're trying to do to wrap up and things like that. So
This may be a tough question, but let's go to this. Since we're talking about running Greyhawk at conventions, give me an adventure you have run and you're like, this could be good for someone to run, or that you'd like to run, or you know, that's Greyhawk based. It could be your own, Carlos. Trust me, it's fine because you only run them one each. But like, give me some ideas. I'll start. So I think Cools is perfectly set for running at cons. Right. All right. I'll toot our own horn, especially in two sessions. But I really want to run one day Ravager of Time. I just want to. That was one I was considering, but it was too obscure for the 50th anniversary. But that is so brutal and so fun, right, Tim?
Yes, it is.
Yes, that's one. One day, I promise to you all, I will run Ravager of Time at a convention.
It'll leave a mark.
Yeah, it'll leave a lot of marks. So that low level, I really love to adapt parts of Bone Hill and do that too. Because I think Bone Hill's a sandbox, and you can actually take, hey, you're going to explore this level of it, or you're going to do some of the outdoor encounters, or you're just going to go into the Church of the Big Game and have fun there and do a side quest there. So I'd love to do something like that with one of Len's classics. So that's it for me on different levels. Hey, Kafir, who wants to take that up next? That's tough, I know, but like, even if it's just one adventure, something, oh my gosh, a Greyhawk adventure, I'd love to throw out there.
Well, I guess I'll go next.
Yeah,
I don't mind. For me, the best response any of my con games I've ever had was Sanguine Labyrinth. I think.
Okay.
I think that people seem to really love that game, but I feel like I wrote Sanguine Labyrinth probably 5 years ago, and I feel like I'm a way better writer and a better crafter of modules by now. So actually my most recent module is probably the one that I just mostly recently ran, which is Witch Queen's Lament.
Okay.
It's probably my favorite to run at a show. Although I guess I can break the news here right now. I'm attending GrogCon and at the end of September, and I'm writing the official module for that, which is called Haunting the Chapel, which is the newest Castle Entertainment
Awesome.
enterprise. In fact, I just got the hard copies of it
Nice.
today, so that may take the spot
What
above.
level is it for?
It is for 5 to 7.
Oh, perfect.
5 to 7.
Very
Nice.
cool. Very cool. Anyone else want to make any Greyhawk recommendations for the audience? Tim?
I have two. The first would be A4.
Oh, cool.
But I would include the capturing moment at A3. So they really think they're going to do something. So it would start in Medius Race, that big fight. You're captured. Boom. You're all
That's
screwed.
great.
And then they have to get out.
That's a great
That to me
idea.
would be that would be a fun one. And then also, and Carlos, forgive me, the name is I forget. I can't quite remember the name. You wrote it. It's the Cthulhu-esque one where
To the City of the Elder Gods.
yes, there we go.
Oh
Yeah.
my God,
You
you're a
want to
real
scare the
sadist,
crap
aren't
out of
you?
somebody.
You're a real sadist, aren't you?
Woo. Yeah, that would be a good one too.
Yeah,
Very cool.
that's a tough one.
Excellent. Now, and I know you're not you're not a hardcore.
No, but I would say that make your own stuff, and
definitely.
there's two reasons for it. One is that you get a chance or no one else would know the stuff, so to speak. So no one can say that, oh, I know this scenario, you read it wrong, or you're doing it wrong in that sense. And it's a way to do things that the players, you can throw like a curveball at the players, and they're not really used to it, so to speak. And you're also the master of your thing. So pick an area and run it, so to speak. But on the other side, you need to put it, there's more work to it. You can't just read it and then understand it. It needs to make sense, so to speak. And that's the tricky bit, is that you have to prep it. The thing what I will do, and I did last year, it was that I run it as part of my campaign because it's an area already prepping for, so to speak. So it's not that much extra work to put in another game in the same campaign. So that's another one. So make something adjacent to your home game. If you run a home campaign, make something that makes use of the research and the development you already done, so to speak. Another adventure set in the same town or the same general area involving the same master villains and stuff like that, but from a different angle or later on or earlier or something like that. So you can make use of stuff you're really already familiar with, but in a new way, so to speak.
By the way, Anna, that's like speaking power word stun to a guy who writes modules professionally. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm terrible.
kidding,
I
I'm
love
kidding.
your module. But it's the thing is, I love to read modules. I love to take ideas and stuff from them and then make my own stuff, because that's and I'm definitely not saying it because I'm better at that writing adventures than others, because I'm not. It's just that's how
I was totally
function
just
when I run it.
kidding.
Yeah.
Another, this is for selfish reasons I asked this question, because for all of us who are going to GaryCon, we need to run Greyhawk events there, as many as we can, right?
I
mean,
should.
you know,
I kind of want to, and one of
yeah.
my, and now I'm going to direct a request to Josh saying I'm willing to run a game if I get a big TV screen next to my table. I'm willing to run it. Yes.
So you're turning
Then
into me, Anna. You're being a prima
Yeah.
donna.
Mm-hmm.
Probably get it, Anna.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
I'd hate
Because
to hear anybody ever say no to you.
Yeah,
Why
because
is
that
there
was
a
one of the. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Why is there a TV here? Anna asked for it.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
That's
No, but
excellent.
the thing is that
That's like-
I realized that I haven't run since before COVID. The last it's probably 6-7 years ago since I ran a game at a table, and several years before COVID. So I realized if I want to run now, I got used to Albert Rodeo. I want to show my maps and handouts and stuff. I realized then I can use the best of both worlds. I can use my tactiles and dry erase for indoor scenes and for the close-up battles, and I can show general area maps, handouts, and stuff like that, and the overall situation using Albert Rodeo or Obsidian or something on a screen, so to speak. That way, I think I can run. Technically, I get the facilities to run a game I want to run, so to speak. So that way, it will probably function really well for me.
Yes, Curtis, you and Brett have to do that setup because you are Josh's whipping boys. So you're gonna have to be running around in the middle of playing in my game, and then you got to go set up Diana's stuff. It's gonna happen.
Yep.
So.
I can see at GaryCon, I'm going to roll up to my table and I'm going to look over my shoulder. I'm going to be in this huge shadow of this billboard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, what the hell is this thing? How am I going to run a game here? And Anna's going to be on the other side running her game all happy.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, Alan, what do you think about that for some Greyhawk content? Because you're all about it, all about the old school stuff.
So there's a number of adventures I'd really like to be able to make work at a convention that I have not been able to figure out how to sort of hack, scope down, or tweak in ways. But I think there's some neat possibilities to be able to do stuff like Return of the Eight. I'd love to run a scenario where you're invading Tenzer's castle.
Oh, yeah.
As Eaz's, minions or something.
That's great.
Ooh, that's cool. Awesome
that's
idea.
A reverse dungeon
Yeah.
Reverse dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
And then Roger Moore's House on Summoner Court, I think could be a really fun one to do from a role-playing point of view. And then, you kind of do the whole auction, and then you have the house. And then you have to, kind of explore and deal with, all the booby traps and stuff and whatnot in there. So things like that, that are just a little bit too big in scope, or they're too, you have to kind of narrow it down or something. Day of Al Akbar, I think, would be a really neat one to do the same thing.
That's long, though, isn't it? That's a long.
It is, yeah. So they're just ones I'd love to be able to figure out a way to make work. But one that I have kind of tried to think through that I think could work is UK6 All That Glitters, which is one I've always kind of considered as part of an entry into the Sea of Dust as a mechanism for that. And just getting to the Sea of Dust would be the end of round one, and then you could have a second scenario that would be picking it up and going into the Sea of Dust for round two or something like that. But that would still take some work and tweaking and things. So,
and another selfish reason for doing all this discussion for all you in the audience is after this, we got to start planning the 6th annual St. Jude fundraiser, because that's before GaryCon in February, right? So we need participation in that. We want everyone to enjoy doing that, and we got to surpass $25,400 this year somehow. So that's a lot of a lot of great things that the community is doing. But wow, that's some good ideas. Alan, I can just see, getting an evil assault group and going into Tensor's, as Tensor's still dead, right? Tensor's still
Right.
freaking
At the
Dredge
beginning of
Con
Return
around.
of the 80
Yeah,
is, yeah.
yeah, that's good.
Or yeah,
That's a
close
great
enough to
idea.
dead.
Is he a gnome by any chance?
Oh, don't start. Oh my gosh, man. I thought, even Rob Kuntz is like, what the frick did they do to my character? Yeah. It's such a lame excuse too.
I couldn't help myself,
I know, it's just so lame. It's all because
Gnome, Dretch, it's all the same.
what's the difference?
Yeah,
Yeah, oh my gosh. No.
maybe give you a Dretch gnome.
Yeah, yeah, that's true, Mystery. Everyone is streaming Baldur's Gate 3. You're not going to see me streaming Baldur's Gate 3. Good for everyone else. The game looks fantastic. I just don't have time. I don't have time. I'd love to play it. It looks great. All right. So, any other questions from the audience? I know we're getting close. See how quick the time flew by tonight? Oh my gosh, it's flying by. Let's all four of us summarize. Carlos, start us off with some discussion on helping, giving any other pointers, tips. Just remember this, remember that to the audience. Whatever you'd like to talk about.
All of the I gave up a lot of the best of my secrets already. Preparation, like I said, is the biggest part. Pre-game preparation and being able to read your players at the table, what they want out of the game. I think those are such huge components of being a successful convention DM. They're way more important than conversance with your system or anything like that, in my opinion. People want to be masters of the game and everything like that, and that's great. But people who have DM'd for a long time know that 90% of the game actually happens between the rules. So keep in mind that you're going to be called upon to make those kind of decisions. Make them fast. Keep your game moving, and you would be surprised how much fun you'll have with it. It's going to drain you by the time you're done because it's not easy to do. It's taxing, but it's probably the most kind of rewarding kind of gaming to me that you can do because there's a certain amount of challenge in it. I think that when you've seen and you've done everything before as a DM, as a lot of people have before, it's something new, a new frontier for you to try. And it's not for everybody, but for some people, it's the soul of the game.
And also have fun, man. Have fun and get. We are not getting any younger, any of us. So bring it. You know what I mean? Anyway, bringing in new people to the community and to the game is paramount. So use the opportunities. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I almost scared myself. I thought I had crashed, and then I looked and it's just my laptop.
No,
Right?
no.
Yeah, no. My laptop video is crashed. All right.
Oh, I do have one last thing I would like to.
Please do.
I would. Play in your own convention games. Play games with people that you respect and admire as creators, like Alan, like Tim, like Jay. Play in those games and see what they do well. See what you don't like what they do. Create your own style based. I mean, like I told you at the beginning of this, before Alan came in, a lot of what I do is based on what I saw Alan do that was successful, and by observing what happened around Alan's DMing for the rest of the table. How people responded to things he did, what worked, I felt, and what didn't. You take notes on those kind of things, whether explicitly or mentally, and there's nothing wrong with being inspired by other people around you. Nobody expects you to go into this thing whole, like Athena born from Zeus's brow, whole, just, allow yourself to be inspired by these people because their wisdom and their experience can really help you out in your own games.
Yeah, and just piggybacking on that real quick, play with a variety of DMs too. You'll learn different things from lots of different people when you play with them, both from the DM and from the other players. So I think that's a great way to up-level your skills as a player as well as a dungeon master.
Great point. There's always something to learn because no two DMs are alike.
Right.
So there's always
And even the best of us screw up.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
the best of us
Oh,
make
yeah.
mistakes.
all the times.
all
Yep.
the time,
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. And don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes either. I mean, you know, as adults, that's how one of the ways we learn best.
Yeah,
And it's often some of the most fun experiences at the table is when things go wrong. It can be some of
Right.
the
Right.
most memorable parts of a game.
And you can turn around some of those situations when they start going wrong into something really cool sometimes too.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Tim, for example, when he wasn't ready for that familiar thing that I did with the invisibility, turned around into something amazing. So that's a great example.
but you've never had a zombie whip your feet off in one of Tim's game yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, but there's always a first time. I still have feet, right?
Or a mongrel of the putrid tongue show up. Yes.
I did see someone with a putrid tongue try and rip mine out of my face once in Tim's game.
Okay, well there you go. So that did happen.
And he also tried to cut it out with a dagger one
Yeah,
that was nice
Yep.
too.
Yes, there you go. So it did happen.
That was turning when I magic missiled him in the face from 3 feet away was my version of turning the situation around into a good one.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Great point. Alan, anything else you'd like to close on with that advice? That was really good advice. So far, hopefully you all get a benefit out of this.
Just a couple things. There's a couple great articles from Dragon Magazine that I just put into the chat.
Oh, great.
One is a piece Ken Rolston wrote in Dragon 70 around how to make the most out of FRP tournaments. And it's really written from the point of view of a tournament judge looking out to players and teams and offering advice on how they can play more effectively, particularly in the AD&D open style 4-hour time slot tournaments, where you're trying to, accumulate points, preserve hit points, achieve your goal, and all that stuff. Classic A1 through 4 kind of tourney stuff. One of the great things to me that I took away from that article when I read it was you can reverse engineer that, and it's great advice as a designer for ways to think about how to structure your tournaments and such. So that's one that I think is a really good one to look at. And then there was a similar article in Dragon 108, and that was really more written from a DMing point of view around the idea of how to design tournaments better and stuff. So I think that would be ones that I would say certainly were influential on some of my approaches to how I do tournaments and such. But get out there and play with lots of different DMs, play lots of different game systems. And it's fun. And if you have a bad experience, it could have been the scenario, it could have been the table, it could have been the dungeon master, it could have been a bad bowl of chili that before the game for somebody, whatever. It's a 4-hour slot. Life goes on. Have fun with the fun you can, and then learn from it or do something different next time.
Absolutely. Cons are these virtual cons we do are a great starting learning experience point for the in-person ones. It's a good way. So I'll say something about that in a second. So Tim, what do you got as far as some final suggestions?
Well, I'm as the least qualified person here. I'm going to say do what those other guys said.
Least qualified. What?
As far as
I've never run at a games,
in person.
So in person. So at a con in person. So that's what I mean.
Me
But
neither.
I want to say the takeaway I got here is, Carlos, if you've given a character, this is for Jay, of course. If you've given a character a magic item, and then they use that magic item, you shouldn't punish them or penalize them to just right. So
right,
if you
absolutely,
have a wand of enemy detection, it should be used correctly, right?
Yes,
that's exactly right.
But
No,
trappers
it's
aren't
okay, Jay.
enemies.
All right.
And they should detect enemies.
Trapper's not an enemy.
Incorrect, sir. Incorrect. But anyway,
that's only 3 years old. That beef.
I never get tired of bringing it up.
I feel bad. I made the mistake of giving Cascavellian over there a robo blending one time.
Oh my gosh!
Did I pay the price for it in a scenario? So, yeah.
At least it wasn't a robe of eyes.
No, it was a robo blending, which to me is maybe even worse.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
Yeah.
or Helm of Brilliance, or a Cloak of Displacement, or Ring of Regeneration. Stuff you
I
just
love
don't
Helms
want to.
of Brilliance.
I know you do. That's
I
why
love the Cloak of Displacement. That's my personal favorite Magic item of all
man.
time.
Well, in
It's a
a
great
con
one.
setting, I guess, but in a campaign, my God, that thing's over imbalancing, right?
I know. That's why I love it.
Great point, Tim.
Slaves of the Magi are there to be broken,
Broken.
Jay.
We've had Retributor Strikes before. In fact, 6 of Marco's characters has done Retributor Strikes,
Mm.
right, Tim?
Yeah.
No, it's a couple, but and it's good that Tim can bust my stones about something. I have the blue balls emote I put out there when I got them busted. So there you go. He got me good on that one.
Oh, it happens.
No, that's okay. I can take it. You dished it out to me on that one, which is fun. So thanks, Patrick, for doing that. So Anna, what do you got closing here?
I just want to say, I think this is something you should definitely try and run games at conventions, just like you should try and create things and share with others and stuff. It's a way of enriching the hobby for everyone. And it's also something that will enrich the gaming for you. And because for me, when I did it last year, it was it felt like an achievement. I streamed the game for the first time. I ran a game at the convention. It was only a virtual convention, but it got me into uncharted territory that
Yes.
I really liked, so to speak. So I think it's great. Just like you should create stuff, share with community, or start, and meaning don't hold back your ambition. Start doing it, and sometimes you do things that are works better than others, but you should definitely try it, both for your own enjoyment, but also for the benefit of the community. Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for this great discussion. I want to go back to the Virtual GrowCon signups as I want to show some things. It is filling up fast. In 36 hours, we have a lot of sellouts. Everyone up here, all their events are sold out. But there's still some good stuff. If you haven't signed up yet and you want to take that step in, there's all great people in here. Get in a game. Get in a game that there's still some open seats for. If you want to DM something and you're like, oh, it's too late, it's not. And I'm going to give you an example. So we missed Lomas Lightfoot. He put something in like 11:30, 11:40 yesterday while I was streaming. Wanted to get it in before the signups. Didn't know about it. Josh and I both missed it because I was running a game and Josh just wasn't doing his job. Sorry, Josh. I'm kidding. But I put it in last night. It's called the Dawn Chaser. He's got 3 signups already and only has 2 open seats. And I got to put this in at 5:30 yesterday. Your games will get filled if the content is appealing. So don't. And also we push. The community's going to push to get all these, to get at least enough signups for each event it's in, so that it can run. We're going to be constantly pushing. So don't worry about that.
And there will be more events that people add just in the same way for stuff that rolls in over time.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah. In fact, my schedule is the only reason that I don't have more than one game for this. You might be surprised. I might add another game if I decide that I can endure it.
Right, that you can fit it into your schedule and it works for you and all. So just note that what we have here is, it's fluid. There may be some other things adding, but there's some great stuff here still. And all time slots are available as well. So if you have any concerns, like for example, one thing I know, if you don't have a credit card and you only use PayPal, just reach out to me directly and we'll figure out how to get the $5 for it. We'll figure it out, because I don't want anyone not getting into the con because I don't use credit cards anymore. All right, you just reach out to me. We'll work all that out. All right, just to cover the cost of the site. All right, so that's what I have to say. I am a perfect example of 38 years of playing before I ever stepped foot at a convention. Believe it or not, and I was scared. I was not. I had no idea what I was doing those first couple times, and then it just took time, and you do it over, and you have repetitive things you do, or you learn from other people. So it's not that difficult. Once you figure out yourself what you need to do to prep to get into that game, to have that game ready. For me, I got to pack up terrain, miniatures for 6 different sessions I'm running Get them to GaryCon. Make sure they're not busted up broken. In addition to all the other stuff you got to do for prepping for the game too, because I'm not going to run a game without some terrain on the table. So note that everyone here has their own way they prep for doing a game. You're going to have to set that up, and you're going to have to write it down in an outline. Write down what step by step what you want to do that morning beforehand. Also figure out what time slots work best for you. What times you feel better? Are you a night person? Are you a late night person? Are you a morning person? Right? Just figure that out too. That's what I would suggest. And I found my way. I want to do first thing in the morning. I want to run that game, then run our seminars, then hang out socially at night. That's my GaryCon schedule. Because Curtis and those guys, they love hanging out with me. So I guess I have to, because that's when Josh lets them off the leash.
What
So
about Odor?
I am just busting stones, everyone. All right, so great discussion. Anyone with any last-second questions for the group? I know we're running. These 2 hours flew by. Because
All I can say is I got Scottish Jeff Cascavellian and the great Alan Grohe in my game for virtual Greyhawk Con, man.
Awesome.
I gotta friggin' bring it big time.
Think about that day on Friday. Think about this day on Friday. Here, we'll go to that real quick here. Let's just take a look. If you guys
are gonna see some action out there for this one.
It's gonna be awesome. Let's do this.
Are we streaming that game?
Oh, Von
yeah.
Malkio, I forgot you're on. I didn't even see you in there right still. You're right. And also Von Malkio.
Yes. Lounge time. Look at this. That's oh, Jay. Wrong button. That's last year's. My God, I'm dumb. I just put in last year's con.
You were only off 1
year, right? I was only off 1 year. Okay, here it is. So look at this day one. You go, you got Drums in the Roll starting at 7 a.m. You got then you got Wally Hobbit. This is sold out. The Lighthouse by Leonard Lakofka. That's sold out. Greyhawk Miniature Painting, Stephen Chenault's game is sold out. Beneath the Stone Sky. John's game, A Time of Reckoning, sold out. He raids into Carlos at 10 o'clock at night. And then that's sold out. But there are 4 open slots for our men's game at 1 o'clock in the morning. So if you're a late night person, sign up for it. Have fun.
And if you're watching, hydrate, boys and girls.
Yeah, Armin's a great VTT DM. So or depending on what he's doing. So and he's in New Zealand. Have fun with that. That's day 1, right? So day 2. But Drums in a Roll, there's 3 open seats still. All right, day 2. Tim starts it off at 7 o'clock, filled. Chuck's game, The Winteroon, is filled. I don't know. Ghost of Saltmarsh Out of the Abbey with Garner, I think, has 1 or 2 open spots still. So that may be a good one to get in. We're gonna have a seminar. What's happening in Aired before the Grand Joust. I have a 50-50 shot of a very special guest. Hey, Goodman Games playing in that, in addition to Luke and Alyssa Faden, which I think is going to be hysterical. And his name is Ed Greenwood. So,
just so you know, Jay,
yeah,
my grand champion will always be the Knight of Foltus.
Matthew Barnabas.
Matthew Barnabas is my champion,
well,
just so you know, and I will accept no substitutes.
Goodman Games, thank you very much for that.
Oh yeah, welcome.
Well, here's a little surprise. With the Joust, there are 2 events going on at the same time. There's the Grand Joust tournament champion for this year, and the previous champions from the last 4 years. So Bones' character.
So it's an invitational.
Those 4 have a grudge match to see which is the bragging rights of the last 4 champions. So Matthew Barnabas is in for that.
Well, you know who's going to win then. Why are you even what you should do is you should have him be the judge so it's fair for everybody else.
I am always the judge because everyone knows that I don't cheat. So
he's trying to give Foltus the spotlight.
Yes. Brungill,
I
supply everyone with the rules, man. It's a 1-page swatch. I supply you with a swatch, the Grand Joust booklet I have. So yeah, that's not a problem. If you want to get on the wait list, go ahead, Brungill, because if I have 1 or 2 VIPs not show up, then there's going to be an open seat. So you will probably want to get on the wait list. All right. And then John's running a late night game, the Shadows of Lyric's Tower, which he and I talked about up in the Vespi. And so we'll have a massive raid going into him, and that's at 10 o'clock, and that'll be a real.
That's
fun.
a great scenario to run.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed that I didn't do that one myself.
Yeah. Well, it's a great mystery story up there because it's 1 or 2 lines. Sergeant was great at 1 or 2 lines in the thing. Creates.
Yeah, I just created one that I haven't a scenario that I probably will do for Gary Con, all about Spear Tor. So I did that. It's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But a good thing to finish up that night. And then the last day we got Rob, Phantom NJ starting when comes the witching hour. You're sold out, Rob, right? I think you're sold out too. Anna's sold out. Myers, Hawks, Shieldlands, 11 o'clock. Frostfang. I got to change your name to the other name.
Phantom New Jersey is a great
No
DM,
problem.
but I don't know about that scenario he's running. It sounds like garbage.
Yeah, that's right. It's your adventure. I'm sorry, I got to update yours to put the right name in there. My apologies.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, it's sold out. Frostfang's Fury, Guild Superior
That's
sold
good.
out. And I got Alan here. I got Joe Block. We believe Eric Boyd, Roger Moore, and Ed may join us for that too, believe it or not. Because I told you, Ed's loving Greyhawk. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got some stuff. Because Eric Mona can't make it this year. He's away. So, yeah, unfortunately. But Ed.
Ed is a good, decent replacement. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I'd say.
More than decent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. So let's do some quick shout outs. What do you want to shout out there, Carlos? What do you got going?
Well, I'm running the Gary the GrogCon module that I just finished it. Like I said, I just got hard copies of it in the mail, which is called Haunting the Chapel. It takes place in the Grand March, and it's a module with the background of an ancient as the Sul were migrating into the Flanness, they encountered a Flann tribe, and the legacy of their war, the small war that they had over there, is a big deal. GrogCon, their theme is Hail Orcus this year. So I wrote the module with Orcus in mind.
Oh, nice.
So for those of you who like a little bit of death, this is your thing. I'm doing that. I'm doing virtual GreyhawkCon. I'm really excited about that. The module that I'm writing is a sequel to the 9. It's called the M4X Racist, which I think only one person in probably that is playing it actually knows what that might be. Alan, thank you to your literary background, and your Greek history background. But so I'm doing that, and I've got my Gary Con things I'm going to be running. I'm probably going to be running 3 on book, 3 off book, as usual for that. But the biggest thing I need to tell everybody, I guess, is that I am probably going to be relaunching the Patreon here in November. I've got a lot of material that I've been working on for like the last 6 months, building up stuff for it. It'll be a little bit different of a profile or of a platform this time. It'll be just a little bit. You guys will see as you if you're interested in joining it. But you'll still be getting pretty much all the cool stuff that you guys got in the past. So I'm very excited to be able to announce that. I'm really excited also about the stuff I'm releasing for it, having a little bit of time to build up some stuff. I'm exercising some of the recesses of my imagination for it. And if you guys would like to see anything in particular for it, let me know. For example, I remember one of the patrons mentioned to me that they would really like to see vampires done right in Greyhawk because they don't feel like they've been given short shrift, and they thought that that we needed somebody like a Strahd type of an overarching uber vampire in Greyhawk. So I wrote a little something that might tickle your fancy if that
Sounds
interests
awesome.
you at all. It's called the Heir of Nyx. And it is going to be run for the game that I mentioned to you that I was being commissioned to run for the birthday game for Chantel. So that will be fun. You guys, I'll let you guys all know how it went, and you guys can see it for yourself through the Patreon later. But that's
Carlos,
got
you just
I'm gonna-
realized that you got
Nice, Kurt.
lots of birthdays you will be commissioned to if you run
Yeah.
a game like that at a birthday.
Yeah, man.
I might have
would
to dip into savings.
I would
here.
love to, man. I love running games, and I
If
like.
I had the money, I would hire.
Somebody
hire
just
right
mentioned
away.
Fireland. I'm not gonna lie, Fireland, because of my health issues this year. I don't know if everybody knows about them, but I had some serious health issues this year. I continue to deal with right now, and it's been kind of on the back burner. To be 100% honest, that's the only reason I'm only running one game for virtual Greyhawk Con. If I feel like I've got the energy after my surgery, then I'll do it. I'll
Awesome.
do more than one. But besides that, I think that about covers it, guys. I'm a busy boy as usual, and I'm getting busier by the second. And for example, right after I'm done with this right now, I've got to write all my people for my game about what we're doing for virtual Greyhawk Con. I've got to create 2 pre-gens for the birthday game. So
Nice,
exciting,
man.
but we'll see how it goes.
When's that? What date's your birthday game? Just out of
The birthday
curiosity?
game is going to be October. It's October 21st, I
Oh,
believe.
okay.
And I don't know. I've yet to speak to Chantel if it's going to be televised or not.
Very cool.
It may be streamed. It may be a private session. I'm not really sure.
Excellent. Very, very cool. Well, Carlos, thanks for coming on, man.
It's her party. She'll stream if she wants to.
Absolutely.
You got it right,
Yeah.
and you'd stream too if it happened to you.
Yeah.
but seriously, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
It is something that I always love being on the show, especially about something where I'm actually talking about something I know what I'm talking about for a change like this. Usually I don't know what I'm talking about at all, but this one I actually have some background.
We could have some fun theoretical discussions at another time. But tonight was about tonight's about really just getting out the word on like that we're not infallible, but we have some ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, last thing, if you guys want to go to castleentertainment.com, you guys can pick up the last couple modules. I haven't really publicized them lately. Some of you guys don't even know they exist. Like, for example, amidst gnashing and grinding. I was supposed to run that for last GrogCon, and then the hurricane came and blew me off course. So I didn't even get to run it. But this one actually takes place in Hyperborea, of all places. So you guys get a chance to maybe see what that continent
wow, okay, I see it.
of Greyhawk is like that nobody ever talks about. Cool stuff. Yeah.
Oh, how many of them do you have?
I have about 30 of them in here, I believe.
You say 3?
And they're just waiting for you guys to snatch them up.
3 or 30?
30.
Oh, okay. You said 3.
And I also have,
and
like I said, I'm running that GrogCon game, and that will be for sale on castleentertainment.com
Beautiful.
Shortly afterwards.
Excellent. Well, like I said, I put a link in. It goes to that first page on there, the Who's link. So all the adventures are right there. Check them out, and you can get PDF and the module together. So you get them both, which is awesome. Carlos, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for a great discussion. Alan, thanks for hopping in. You got anything you want to shout out?
No, I don't. Nothing. I mean, I'm happy to have been here. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to the convention and to getting ready to prep for GaryCon as well. When I had to step away, my business partner came by to drop off some information for convention stuff. So for
cool.
GaryCon. So
And when you and I get a chance, we need to talk about Rob and try and see if we can help him out a little bit.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We can figure it out.
And if you can make it, you said, to the Fiend discussion on Wednesday night, you're more than welcome to assist us with
Demons are near and
Yeah.
dear to my heart in
Awesome.
Greyhawk.
that. Legends and lore.
As a guy who plays in his campaign game on Saturdays, I really don't like hearing that. I guess it's good I play a paladin.
We're
Or
gonna have
maybe
a
it's not
fun
good,
games,
I suppose.
fun discussion Wednesday night. So, Alan, thank you. Really appreciate
Yeah,
that. Tim, what do we got?
Well, I'm just happy to be here.
I appreciate you coming on too, man. It's
Yeah.
different perspective. Your perspective is I run virtual games only, and I haven't been to a con yet, which is good because a lot of
Yeah.
people are like that, and the audience are like that because of
Yeah.
virtual con. So it's appreciated. But I'm going to see if I'm going to see. Thank you very much for anyone fandom. I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to get you over to Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
I will try that.
awesome. Thank you so very much, Tim and Anna.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say, thank you to Carlos and Alan and Tim and Jay for a great discussion, and you got me into wanting to run more at conventions and making me step up in this arena and try my luck at running games too. So that's what, and also thank you to everybody who supports me. Right now, I feel I owe an apology to all my patrons and stuff, because I've dug myself into, I have like 6 or 7 projects that all feel like they're in the middle of they're halfway to 3/4 done. And so I'm just so sorry, because right now I'm in that kind of lots of big projects. I have Crit Wall, I have the conversion of the big map into GIS, etc., etc. There's lots of big projects that I'm working on a daily basis, but then there is no end. They're not really near completion in the next few weeks. It will take a month or so for most of the projects to come up. There will be some sneak peeks and stuff coming in the meantime, but I feel awful to not have any final deliveries. That's dumb scheduling from me, on my part, so to speak. But being away for 5 weeks, that put a dent in my production schedule too. So that was part of it. So I just want to say thank you so much for supporting me, even if I'm not giving so much right at the moment. But there are big upgrades on a lot of things, so to speak. So once I have converted all the stuff into GIS that I've done, that is a big thing, so to speak. And once I've done the Quit Wall, I did an experiment Friday for those who were on my live stream, that I actually made historic maps versions of Crit Wall. They turned out way better than I thought. So now I got set a precedent there, so to speak. So now I know how to do them. So I will make a write up of Crit Wall, and I'm halfway done with that too, on my version of Crit Wall, and the history and some snippet maps that goes with it, where you see the development of the city over the last 1,000 years. So with a little bit of historic tidbits and stuff in there. So I have a tendency of having a project creep, so to speak. So they get bigger and more fun stuff coming in, which means that they take longer, so to speak. So so I'm sorry, but things will come. But it will take a little bit longer. So
So, thank you all guests. What a great discussion here. Let me hit a wrong button here somewhere, because you know I'm going to. I'm very good at doing that.
We can hardly wait.
I don't know what
Thanks.
I'm doing this Thursday yet for my group, because I'm tearing down all that great terrain. So, and it's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, no Saturday special. It is a holiday weekend coming up, right? So, is it? I can't remember. I lose track of time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Labor Day weekend coming up.
Yep.
All right. So, I last Wednesday I told everyone there was no Legends and Lore, because I had a corporate person coming in, and I had a dinner I had to go to. Well, that corporate person had a death in their family, and now they're not coming, unfortunately. I guess so I'm open for Wednesday. So Fiends of Greyhawk. How's that? Demons,
one.
devils, slods, demodons, whatever the
Mhm.
hell you want. No modrons. I don't want to hear
You
a
missed a
modron.
They're
perfect
not under
opportunity.
Chaotic was it lawful neutral must be represented, Jay?
No, they're not feeds, but we'll
Good,
talk
thank
about that
you.
on Wednesday. Yep. Mhm.
Thank you.
Jay, you missed a
I'm with you,
perfect
Jay.
opportunity to discuss the Renee in this whole thing too. So you could have promoted as Gypsies, Tramps, and Fiends.
Yes, and then I could get a 20-day, 30-day ban for using the word
Yeah.
gypsy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Song, damn it.
I know. It's a Cher song. It's Cher's song, the number one song in 1972.
How dare you?
So look for this on Wednesday. We know Mike and I will be on it, and probably Alan will be on it for a little bit as well, and it'll be a really fun discussion. We'll all go our own direction.
Mhm.
I am big in it with Orcus in my game. Orcus has a huge role in that, and in Aird coming up in the crossover. So
Van, do I have
Yeah.
something for you in my module?
that's awesome. But I'm gonna, when I get offline here, I'm gonna go and order that one of those 30 copies, because I want to get a copy.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh,
I
yeah,
appreciate
definitely. All right, let's do the. I'll leave this up here. This is 2 drink minimum at Gary Con.
Yep.
I'll leave that picture up.
That
while we're
was an
finishing up here.
awesome
Yep.
session.
So thank you. And it just goes to show you, Ed's done so much work. There's stuff everyone's forgotten. I threw a bleeder, which is a beholder that rolls on the ground. And it's not at them at that adventure. And like Ed's like, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, well, there's more to come, Ed. I'm always gonna throw stuff against you that in Greyhawk. So yeah, fun times. All right, here we go. The winner tonight gets their choice of two. It can be one compilation book and it can be one adventure book. So if you want, I still have like Treasures of Greyhawk. I have a B1 through 9 compilation, and then if you were like to get what White Plume Mountain as an example as well, just reach out to me and we'll figure out what you want in the reprints pile, courtesy of because Patrick has sent me stuff that it's literally I have fire code violations in this room now because of all the stuff he sent me, all the paper that's in this room. So it's appreciated always. All right, here we go.
Yep.
Let's see who wins. Of course, I missed it. Closing out. Winner is Tim Enoch Pratt.
Nice.
Ooh,
Enoch.
congratulations.
Yes, a regular. Good to see you
Yeah.
win. All right, sit tight. We're going to raid into Darling, as we normally do on Sunday nights. And
Give that man a cup of coffee.
Darling will be at Gary Con. Bones will be at Gary Con. Myriad will
Oh,
be at
that's
Gary Con.
awesome.
Mandy will be at Gary Con.
Oh,
Heather Hicks will
wow.
be at Gary Con.
Oh,
I can keep
so
on
much
going
fun.
for all the ladies that are coming for the first time. And all playing it with Eric Monin and Slav Squad. Yeah, so it's going
And
to
for
be...
those of you guys who play in my games, you might even be able to get Cascavellian at Gary Con. I'm going to
Oh,
try.
that's awesome.
Ooh,
I'm going
yep.
to try.
See you all Wednesday night. Enjoy the next couple of nights. And thank you all for what a great, a wonderful discussion on this topic. We're all going
Thanks,
together.
everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Setting the raid up.
Read up.
Raid. Looks like she's painting tonight. There's no DB game, which is fine. Probably painting Commission Dragon from someone in the community. Wow, look at that. 82. Awesome. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everyone have a good evening.
Raiders.
That's cool.
And it went over. Yeah, 82. That's good. Yeah.
There it is.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
Of course.
It was awesome. Thank you, Carlos, and
Let me
thank you,
shut
Alan.
this off
Yeah,
here.
Tim, always.
Thanks for letting me come on.